Good morning, everyone. I would like to greet you all. Thank you for being part of the international seminar in which we're going to be sharing the best practices and experiences of Social Security and its coverage. So we're celebrating this event that's happening because of the Social Security Week event. We have a sequence of events organized by the Inter-American Conference on Social Security. Simultaneously, I congratulate all the members that are part of the panel. Ms. Wolper, former official of UNESCO, a representative of UNESCO in Mexico, Aves Rami Caetano, General Secretary of the International Association of Social Security Affairs, Gilbert Diaz Vasquez, who's the president of the Workers, the Union of Professors of Costa Rica, Ms. Barindelli. She is the post holder, the lead of the Uruguayan Social Security Bank. Salazar Hank, she is the coordinator of information of the commission that's been constituted in Mexico called CONSAR. She is representing Mr. Julio Cervantes, who is the chair of that agency. Thank you for being present, Sonia. And who's representing the president of the Inter-American Conference in Social Security, Mr. Zoe Robledo. In his representation, we have Mr. Hernandez Avila. He is the post holder of activities at EAMS and Social Security Studies. Thank you, sir, for participating. And of course, Manuel Hernan Diaz is also part of the Presidium. Thank you very much for coming to Mexico. And Vanessa, you'll tell us exactly what the bio of Manuel is. During these 2-day seminar, it's an international seminar. We're going to be discussing core subjects, which are the backbone of our hard work and the development of Social Security culture. Recently, we have turned our efforts into moving forward and fostering the projects and initiatives that have a continental scope to strengthen culture, education, and raise awareness regarding the aforementioned subjects from early stages of life. What drives us or motivates us to have this seminar is the fact that we have a firm belief we can only achieve universal coverage of Social Security if we have informed citizens regarding the Social Security rights, the benefits and schemes, the paths to obtain the benefits and exercise the rights and the obligations that are a consequence. Now, the systems that integrate all of this uh, sector is something that affects us all at a continental scale. We analyze what's happening in Latin American economies, and we know that the citizenship doesn't have a broad knowledge or mindfulness about Social Security and what it offers. By tradition, we know that Social Security is associated to benefits, to schemes such as health benefits or services or benefits that are offered by the system, which are pension schemes during retirement age. But people don't know the broad coverage of their benefits, and there's a need to know what are the Social Security benefits for the citizenship in their lifespan. Social Security Administration is led forward by an institution. And in Mexico, as a case of reference, we have the headquarters of the Inter-American Conference, the Social Security Institute, to operate the Mexican schemes and with other agencies like other Central American countries do. Social Security Administration is also part of what's administrated by many authorities. And we acknowledge the fact that there's underlying problems. We're engaged to go through the amendment of culture or the improvement of Social Security, and that's in the Declaration 115 declaration that has been ratified and approved during the 88th year celebration of this Inter-American Conference. So we foster the development of the culture to strengthen Social Security benefits. We want to educate our people under the proper frame. And we want our youth, our kids, and our elders to be part of this process of education. So we kicked off an initiative of social development and cultural development from early stages of life to retirement age. So we hope that it all works out to benefit all our member states. We focus on the core subjects or topics to reference what's happening with the spirit of the document that was signed off in Guatemala in 2009. In that declaration, we approved the international stakeholders approved the Social Security Declaration, and the Social Security Institute for Social Security Studies also was part, as well as the International Labor Organization, or ILO. In that ratified document, we call to to a specific mandate all our economies to back up the initiatives of the Inter-American Conference to foster and strengthen the works of this conference. So this week of past week of April, we celebrate Social Security Week that's in effect and enforced by well document 142 or 115. Yeah, and this petition, the petition in the instrument or the spirit has been well accepted at a continental scale. Currently, 10 American countries are celebrating this specific date: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Haiti, Mexico, Bolivia, Colombia, Nicaragua, Paraguay, Dominican Republic, and Uruguay. And I must mention that the other countries of this entities have celebrated and incorporated this instrument in their legislation and constitutions. Maybe in the near future, more countries from the Americas celebrate and accept this document or guiding instrument and adopt and take the measures which are necessary that impact us at a regional scale. It's clear to us that during these week of efforts and we create the proper mechanisms to inform the citizenship regarding specific topics of Social Security with cultural programs, educational programs. So we accept the challenge, and it's enrooted. There's solid initiatives, and there's been long horizons in correlation to these initiatives. We see the cases of reference like Uruguay. So we're going to listen to the next two groups or working tables. We have to create the right provisions to create the drafted plan to impact our region. And in that document, we have to include all the topics that affect our region. We have this project. We have to strengthen the culture of Social Security from early stages of life. This initiative has a scope of the whole hemisphere. We want all our programs to impact all the people in their developments so they get to know what Social Security is and how it impacts their life. This document enshrines a set of material that we have defined and drafted objectively, clearly. Our youth, our kids, have to be sensitive enough and understand Social Security and its relevance. As I mentioned a moment ago, we're not finding the silver thread here or reinventing the wheel. We're all inspired based on the Uruguayan protocol or model that's been implemented. So we'll explain what the Uruguayan document's all about. We have drafted this technical material that they're all worded, drafted, they're all neutral, and they're frame so they can be replicated and used in all the continental nations. In all the nations of this continent, we have drafted and outlined the frame of 12 images or postcards that enable us to visually analyze and understand the concepts, the constructs, Social Security benefits for boys and girls. So these instruments were created in workshops 1, 2, and 3, in which we're fighting for Social Security. There was a bid, or we offered these initiatives and programs. They were awarded to Medellin, Colombia, and other economies in October 2022 and 2023. We have the recent edition of these documents, and in Mexico, we're celebrating the creation of these instruments with the presence of the kids who were the creators of these instruments. Under the frame of the project and its scope, we created a program for the pension schemes or saving schemes or afores, which we call them in Mexico. We created all these information postcards, and we worked with the pilot programs and received the observation and feedback from different agencies or entities. And what follows is for us to spread the knowledge, disseminate knowledge of all the material that's that's led us to create 4 booklets with a lot of information, and the content of these instruments are created to be distributed amongst all our youth. These should be referenced in the ministries of education of the Americas at a continental scale. We have worked together as economies for years to create this, and tomorrow we're celebrating the creation of this aforementioned program. We're going to disseminate the output or the result of the program. We will broaden the scope of our activities in this field. We're going to be launching programs, workshops for higher studies with different Social Security disciplines. We will continue articulating the syllabus with experts in the field, the academia, educational institutions at a continental scale. So we're going to be paying close close attention to this list of activities and sequences that we're going to be executing in the near future. We want to disseminate the knowledge with a core material of support, material resources that which have been developed with the Inter-American Conference because we're engaged with Social Security. We're going to develop or celebrate the use of two micro websites or sites in which we will have the accrued instruments of this creation. We're going to distribute it amongst the public, the general public. All are included at a continental scale. And these interfaces or websites, you can find the reportership, all the material content, and cases of reference that are of our interest, and everything that's been created with a program to create the social security culture that we all need. We will enhance our objective outputs by launching the rest of the programs and workshops. With this seminar, we're going to continue articulating and creating and consolidating initiatives to educate regarding Social Security. In the next panel, we're going to listen to the experienced countries of the conference, and we're diverse and plural. There's Barbuda, Mexico, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, amongst other economies. Last but not least, we'll speak deeply about the activities of this Inter-American Conference and our developments and hard work as part of the project. We work in synergy, in synchronicity. We are here gathered to learn more and to strengthen our disciplines. So I repeat and I announce once again, I greet you for being part of this happening, for this being part of the seminar. Those who follow us streaming remotely or in presence or in person, thank you for being part of this event to broaden the coverage of Social Security benefits for our continent. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your kind words and for explaining what we're doing, the hard work of this conference, and what you've all done. Now, we'll continue with the participation of our colleague and ally called Rosa Wahlberg. She's a former official at UNESCO. She's been driving forward initiatives. She's joined this event or session remotely. Let me share her bio. She's the general official of United Nations for Education, Science, Culture in Mexico. She's been appointed in her positions in 2015. She's a professor thanks to Pan American University, a master's in educational leadership thanks to San Diego University. She worked for the past 10 years in planning, strategic planning, educational policies in the Ministry of Education in Mexico. In later stages of her life, she worked as a consultant and participating in projects of assessment of institutions and develop educational programs. She served as a consultant in UNICEF Mexico, leading development programs for kids in early stages, inclusion, and quality of education. UNESCO is responsible for the educational program called Foster Achievements of United Nations and Strategies programs for following up on things. And intercultural programs have implemented the use of material resources to develop programs to fight illiteracy. She has been working at a global scale. Thank you very much, Ms. Rosa Walpert, for being part of this session. Ma'am, the floor is yours. Thank you all very much, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being part of this panel. Thank you all very much for listening to the broadcast, streaming in person, and those who have joined this session remotely or online. Thank you once again for the kind invite of the agency or the Inter-American Conference. Thank you for enabling me to be part of the celebration, the opening celebration of the seminar. It's extremely important for us all, for the United Nations. It's one of the objectives of the United Nations as part of the Millennium Goals of the 2030 Agenda, because we have clearly defined objectives. They're in that list, and one of the listed objectives is Social Security development, which is important. Now, why? Social Security as is, it's as a must, it's mandatory, it's necessary, it's the bedrock for economic growth to make it sustainable and inclusive. But also, we all know that when there's a lack of Social Security for our retirees or the elders of families, then the kids pay the consequences. When we analyze the economic indicators of marginalization, poverty, extreme poverty in families, there's circumstances that affect our families, and our kids are the ones that are unprotected most of the times. So in that sense, I want to highlight the importance of Social Security as a core subject. You all know that. It's a backbone. On the other hand, we know that it's extremely important. It's relevant for us all to draft or create the material resources that the Mr. Secretary just mentioned, that the chair just mentioned. It's necessary for the population in general to know and learn about the rights they can exercise. They need to know how to manifest the rights, to make them tangible. How can they exercise their rights in different spheres? And we insist on discussing these subjects. Let all be regularized subjects, and it's part of being a beneficiary of social security benefits. If you're a regulated subject, it's part of the culture. Sometimes we think that it's a privilege more than a right. Having social security benefits are more than a privilege than a right. If you're not a regulated subject of society, then you might not know that there's a need. You have a need of having access to an insurance. You think it's a privileged benefit for those who have a regular work and are part of payroll. So we see what's happening in a region. Economy, when it's not regulated or subjects are not regulated, then it affects our macro economies. So after the pandemic, we see the economic sectors or layers in society and subjects were no longer regulated in Mexico. Most of the citizens aren't regulated subjects or contributors, but at a regional scale, we studied with ECLAT or CEPAL, we with ECLAT, we see that the workforce is not, they're not regulated subjects. There's a nullified action of social security benefits for our societies. And who receives the negative impact mostly? Our kids, our girls, our boys, our elders. And I must interpret the relevance, the importance of having created the material. I mean, the wording of it, what's enshrined. A lot of students participated in these initiatives, and these impact families. It's important for them to, all of us, to have access to the material. Social Security is not just a benefit. We need to understand that Social Security is a subject or a topic that must be known. We have to build that culture. People or the citizenship can start first by analyzing their access to benefits. They need to know how to even pressure government, because the government is responsible, government is liable. The government needs to foster knowledge about social security benefits. What's enshrined in our law. In our codes, we see that being a regularized subject is part of law. It's all built in the codes and instruments. It's the laws and rights enshrined the rights of our people. But if you're not a regulated subject who is part of a regulated economy, then how can you exercise your rights? So we need to raise awareness. We need these points to be known. We need to be capable of providing, to be capable. I mean, if you bear knowledge, then you can demand or exercise your rights. And most of our population should have access to Social Security. Part of Social Security, and it branches out to the services being offered. The services, I mean, there's the labor force or there's work, and the exercising your disciplines can gives you, it gives you benefits. And we legislate or draft public policies to frame the benefits of those in citizenship. So we see that there's people that are not knowledgeable about it, that are away from that knowledge, and they will not have access to the benefits, even if they have a regulated job where they can have access to social benefits, but they might not have the services available. Maybe the services being offered are not top in quality. That's very important to understand. So, what will be discussed throughout our panels and sequence of panels, we're going to share the experiences of reference from different countries. We can know about what's happening with other models. We can open to dialogue amongst themselves. We can see what works in one country and what works in another. We must learn and foster and make this culture of social security grow and its coverage. It's necessary. When we think about the syllabus, the credits, it's necessary in education for us to all know. I mean, if you contact an office or our office, my office, you can ask me or us us. How can we foster and develop and trigger the growth of economic growth, education levels at the base? I mean, there's subjects that are not part of the syllabus or credits, or I mean, if we create a culture and we create the demand of the culture, we should be capable of measuring. We need to have indicators and measure relevant core subjects that impact our human rights at the end of it all. And we know what's enshrined, or we must know what should be enshrined in school programs. And after having said this, I close my initial participation. It's an honor for me to congratulate you all and greet you all. The best of success for you all throughout these 2 days of work. Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Next, General Secretary of the IIS, Marcelo Ariz Caetano. But, well, he gave us a video to be presented. But before that, I would like to give you his resume. PhD by the Catholic Brazilian University, a lot of academic and management experience in the social security environment. Before this position, Mr. Caetano had the role of Secretary of Social Security in Brazil between July 1995 and 2005. He was the coordinator of actuarial work, accounting, and technical studies in the Ministry of Social Security of Brazil. After being 6 years the main researcher for Social Security in the Institute for Applied Economic Research between 2016 2018, he was the manager for inequity studies of poverty in this Brazilian institute. Long experience in pensions, demography, social security coverage on equities and poverty. Mr. Caetano has published different papers about social security in different magazines and books in Brazil, the US, Switzerland, Portugal, Chile, and Mexico. He has been a guest researcher of London School of Economics and an international advisor of the magazine Journal of Social Policy, published by the University Press. Mr. Caetano leads a program of activities regarding promoting excellence in the management of social security matters. Mr. Caetano, you are online. Would you like to send your regards or to present your video immediately? Well, first of all, I would like to commend you all for promoting the culture of social security uh, and all this great work. However, I think that it's better for me to speak through the video that has better quality. Thank you for having me here. So next we are going to present the video. I will ask the technical staff to help me. Distinguished members of Social Security entities in Latin America. For me, it is an honor to be invited here. So, on behalf of our 30 members in 662 countries all over the world, welcome you to this seminar about Social Security culture, a subject matter that is very relevant in our current situation. This is food for thought, and it represents a space of collaboration where we are going to talk about the relevance and the impact of Social Security in our societies. And it's going to talk about the experiences of different institutions in the region regarding education and Social Security. We are living in an ongoing changing world. Social security is the fundamental pillar to ensure the benefit and the protection of humanity. Therefore, more than ever, is to speak out about how relevant it is to have a culture of social security. This is a subject matter that we have been working in Brazil for several years with different seminars, webinars, and in our guidelines, we have a lot of pillars for Social Security, reminding us that this type of communication should be affordable, inclusive, and undiscriminatory, so they can adapt to every audience, and they have to make use of all the means, including the new means that have emerged with the development of technologies to outreach everyone. For the development of a social security culture, it's important to have partnerships with different public and private part, institutions, and having interlo- speakers that will talk about the results and will promote an ongoing improvement together with updating information and implementing new systems as necessary. In conclusion, this seminar represents a great opportunity to continue strengthening our understanding, our engagement with the social security culture. I believe, I am sure that with these discussions, we are going to move forward towards a more safe and more inclusive society. The best of success in your seminars. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, señor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caetano. Would you like to have the floor? Yes, you have the floor now. No, I just want to thank you and to congratulate you all for this seminar. I wish you the best of success.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Señor secretario.
Vale, disculpa nada más la interrupción también para darle la bienvenida
Sorry to interrupt, but I would like to welcome Mr. Emilio Saldaña, coordinator of Liaison in the Mexican Social Security.
Bueno,
Thank you so much for being with us
a
and welcome.
continuación tenemos
Next,
la participación
we are going to have the participation of Gilbert Diaz Vasquez.
Él también nos dejó un video, pero previo a
He gave us also a video, but before that,
Gilbert Díaz,
Mr. Gilbert Diaz
voy a leer una pequeña reseña, una pequeña semblanza.
is going to be introduced to you. I am going to read his resume. Chair of the Union of Workers for the Costa Rican Education, an institution that is part of the membership of the conference. Teacher in general basic education, education 1 and 2, first and second cycle, emphasizing in Spanish language. NBI by for education and law studies. He has been in different workshops regarding institutional behavior. He has been part of different Latin American fora regarding education and social security matters in Costa Rica and in the
Aquí de la CIS en México.
CS in Mexico. He is the former chair of the Popular Bank and Community Development, former director of the board for Popular Bank, and he has been a public notary
Con este sindicato y
with this union, and that's why we invited him,
un convenio de
because we have an agreement of collaboration in the issue of social security collaboration. So we are going to start working with him and with this union as of June. You have the floor. My regards to all my dear colleagues. In the framework of the Social Security Week 2024, from the Union of Workers for Costa Rican Education, we would like to send you our regards to all of you that are participating in this international seminar about the culture of Social Security. I would like to tell you that for us, it is an honor to be part of this important association that focus on the analysis of the challenges for the present and the future of Social Security. We are facing challenges that threaten sustainability and an effective coverage of this system. We would like to commend you all. We send our respect for the great work that you are doing, and it is no secret that we are experiencing critical moments in different countries of Latin America. In the case of our country, Costa Rica, this is not the exception because in the last 2 decades we have noticed how health protection, the protection of working hours, working risks, and professional diseases as a result of different ways of work are increasingly the target of critical negative policies of certain groups of powers that would like to cause instability in our social security systems, minimizing the universal value that it has for our society. And therefore, union organizations like the one that I represent have fought in order to create protection mechanisms with proper labor conditions. And for this, we need to focus our efforts on informing the people in order to raise awareness so they can understand the great threat that is facing our social security systems or that are facing. So we would like to express our admiration for the great scientific research that you carry out and all the information that you disclose, strengthening social securities all over the region, giving us an example and building at the same time the road to fight for this defense. Once again, we would like to wish you the best of success in this international seminar for exchanging ideas about the culture of social security. Have a great week, a very productive week.
Muchas gracias al señor Gilbert Díaz por haber
Mr. Gilbert Diaz, thank you so much for your message. And of course, thanks for being a member of this conference. Next, welcoming words by our colleague, the chair of the Social Provision Bank from the Urbay, Daniela Barengeli, who is with us remotely. I am going to read her resume. Public accountant by the Economic Science and Administration School of the Republic. She has a master's degree in tax studies in the University of Montevideo. She has been a counselor for the National Parliament, director of the National Committee for Society and Information, director of the project CAICI in Academic Industrial Center for IT, national coordinator for e-commerce in the Mercosur, coordinator of the Educational Connectivity Program, chair of the Commission for Contracts, and a teacher in the Technical Professional Committee. Mrs. Barindelli, you have the floor. Thank you for being with us today. Good morning. Good morning to all of you in Mexico. Good afternoon for us in Uruguay. Dear colleagues, dear guests and participants, it is quite a privilege for me to be here with you in this international seminar about social security culture. As a director of the Social Provision Bank in Uruguay, I would like to send my regards and to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to have me here and to discuss strategies to strengthening the understanding of social security in our societies. In Uruguay, the Social Provision Bank has been a trailblazer by implementing an ambitious program for social security education that started back in the year 2007. This program is the result of a need, as you already mentioned, to narrow down the knowledge gap about rights and duties that every citizen has in our social security system. The initial studies show that many citizens in the country, especially the most vulnerable one, had no access to their corresponding benefits because there was a lack of knowledge. Our focus has been inclusive and educational. So we have integrated the teaching of Social Security as part of the curricula of all the public and private schools in the country. Small schools and for young people in secondary, high school studies, young people receive information about the main value of Social Security as a human right. A key element of our program has been the ownership of knowledge. Every student receives manuals that were specifically designed to understand this education, and they can outreach families and community to promote a dialogue regarding solidarity and collective responsibility. Besides this, these manuals are affordable, therefore, they are sustainable on time. We have received great feedback with great results. Uruguayan young people not only learn about the benefits that the system offers to them, but they also become critical, active agents for their own well-being, their societies, and their families. It is an education that builds citizenships, that teach them how to value and to support a system that is going to be with them before they are born and during all their life. This seminar undoubtedly represents a great opportunity for all of us in order for us to learn from each other, to share our strategies, and to strengthen our links with a common objective: make decent and universal social security. I am sure that joint efforts and by sharing our knowledge, we can make sure that social security is not only going to be understood and valued, but it's going to become an affordable and fair reality for all of our citizens. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I am so much looking forward to listen to your experiences and to be able to discuss how we can work together in order for all of us to accomplish our goals. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Barindelli. We are also happy to have you here. And it is an honor for us to have you here in the next sessions to share with us the great experience that Uruguay has in this subject matter. Thank you so much. Next, Sonia Salazar Ham, General Coordinator of Information of the Savings Commissions for Retirement. She is with us. Welcome, Sonia. And before giving her the floor, I would like to read her resume. Sonia Salazar has an MBA in Law Studies by the Autonomous University with degrees. She has a master's degree by the London School of Economic in Political Science. She started working in the year 1992, and since then she has had several public positions. Technical in processes in the radio diffusion technical secretary in the Commission of Urban Development and establishment of territorial reserves. In the assembly, in the second legislature, she has been working there. In the financial sector, she has been working by building links with the different branches of the power. In the Union of the IMSS, she has been the regional delegate in the north area of Mexico City, technical secretary from 2013 to 2019 in the Ministry of Interior. Since the year 2019, she has been the coordinator for the liaison of organizational social organizations, general coordinator of Link of CONSAR in Mexico. Welcome, Sonia. Thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. Good morning to all of you, to all the members of the main table, and to all the people that are with us uh, remotely. Mr. Julio Cesar Cervantes Parra, the chair of CONSAR, sends his regards and he apologizes for not being able to be here with you. Mr. Álvaro Velarga and Mrs. Sonia from the CIS, thank you for having me here. Our great colleagues from the IMSS and Manuel Haman Diaz. These forums help us to increase our knowledge about Social Security because this is a pillar for the well-being of people that goes beyond issues of pensions, retirement, and housing. Today, as the Declaration for Universal Access to the fulfillment of Social Security matters, education for general population, mainly youth and childhood, in order to raise awareness about how relevant is to have an engagement that is going to be with them for their lives. In this regard, our country has experienced different changes in this administration in Social Security. This has a social approach focused on people, especially the most vulnerable ones. All the actions of the government are focused on that area, supporting all the changes in the law. And recently, they created a fund for well-being. Thanks to the reform in the year 2020, the number of people that have the right to a pension increased. And the support is going to be higher because the employers provide also the support. Elder people are going to have more support. And if we add the pension for well-being, we are going to have replacement rates of 100%. That is the desire for every people, for every person. The system for retirement funds has had positive changes. And with this, all the workers are going to have more resources in their individual accounts. They have implemented the portability of rights to recognize their seniority. This is another enhancement. These actions represent a great step towards building a much more equitative and solidarity social security system. We should promote inclusion and financial education since childhood. And we need to strengthen the existing concept of financial health. We should remember that with financial education, we are going to strengthen economy by promoting more financial stability and autonomy. A fundamental pillar to have a balance between investments, savings, and expenditures. Regarding these issues, CONSAR promotes the social security culture because services and benefits received by workers that are independent and informal and formal and their decisions contribute to build savings in order to have an elder time with benefits. And we create links so workers can raise awareness about savings during their lives, but mainly in the long term, so they can start planning their retirement and they can be part of their individual account. It has been great for us in order to accomplish the fact that now children see savings as an important part of their life. We design communication strategies in order for them to consider savings as a main pillar. As part of our strategies, we have disclosed several actions. Among them, we have a website with information about how the SAR works, interactive portals that promote savings for retirement, an education provisional survey to strengthen educational actions. We have different activities like calculators that promote retirement. We outreach the public with different caravans, and we have received the collaboration of the CIS. Since last years, we have a pavilion for children, and we have collaborated with the PPSs in order to promote financial education. Recently, we had some slots in Channel 11 saving for the retirement, and you can see them. And besides that, I would like to talk about two main projects that go hand in hand with the Universal Declaration, access to social retirement, and the adventure of my life for different ages addresses concepts that are basic for young people, and it also talks about planning and investing. And we also have Afore for children in order to promote voluntary savings so parents and tutors can open an account Afore for their children. The perspective of young people is very important for social security. So we have an initiative Un, Dos, Tres for young people because their well-being is key for the future development of our communities. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are going to give them a prosper and safe secure them for them, promoting their rights and building a social security that is robust and affordable requires the participation of all the sector. So CONSAR reaffirms our commitment to promote the benefit for elder people and to promote the culture for social security for vulnerable populations. We would like to thank you for having us here in order to start promoting this pillar for social security. We all deserve to have a prosperous future aside from our working situation. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias por tus palabras.
Thank you so much, Sonia.
Participamos el año pasado
Last year,
de las Afores.
we were part of the Afores exhibition for elder people and for young people. So hopefully we can repeat this. That is going to be held in June 2024 from 18 to the 24. Before giving the floor to Dr. Hernandez, I would like to introduce our dear friend Manuel Diaz. He is with us here in the headquarters. He has developed these materials, of course, with the technical support by many people at the CIS, and we would like to thank you all for your participation. But let me introduce him. He is with us. Our secretary asked me to read his resume, and then you will have the floor, okay? Manuel Anan Diaz, an MBA in literature by the Andrés Bello University and the Cientarum in Science and Applied Arts, Misión Televisión, coordinated the Department of Selection of Book for Young People, and he managed the Paramo magazine. He has had different conferences in Latin America, Europe, and Asia. A guest professor in the Master Gretel from Child Literature and author for creative literature, created the international grant of the Eukenbeek mentioned to develop investigations about old books for children. With the support of the French embassy, he conducted a research on the life of Julio Verne. He has been awarded several times in Venezuela researching children literature, and he has published the magazine of children's literature in Latin America, and he has been the jury of the Hans Christian Andersen Award from the Bologna Lagarde and the Biennale of Bratislava. He has developed different proposals for researchers, and he is a corresponding member of the Venezuelan Academy of Language. Welcome you. It is an honor to have you here. And he is going to talk about his publications.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I thank tremendously the presence of our audience, everyone who has joined us for the seminar. And I thank the General Secretary of this entity, our Dr. Alvaro Velarca, Vanessa. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Laura. All of the stakeholders involved. Thanking you for making this project feasible, for giving this project live, the project that we're going to submit to you all during this day of work. For me, it's been a challenge. I come from the world of children's literature, and I've worked with communities, indigenous populations, and with rural peasant communities for many, many years now. And I've had the opportunity to develop many initiatives or proposals to continue the development of our professors and librarians in LATAM. For over 32 years, that has been my job. Besides that, I've been building myself. I constituted myself as a solid researcher in the children's books sector that's very rare, that depends on personal will, that depends on pocket money, and it depends on personal time. I am linked to the academia with many universities. I've had a lot of experience in the development of all levels and fourth level, like accreditations of children's books. There's rare institutions or universities that have this syllabus or this discipline of literature and the specificity of the subjects that I foster, such as reading habits. I don't want to take this time to talk about me. I'm here to thank you all for the opportunity, for having the opportunity to have in my hands the project. This material project was an initiative, a concept, an abstract idea. We wanted to build material resources for kids, boys and girls, teenagers. This work is material. It's the corpus of a sequence of books that have 96 pages each with 21 topics of different topics that enable the reader to understand the full umbrella and spectrum of subdisciplines that are part of Social Security. At the beginning of my professional development, I was ignorant and I started researching Social Security. And Social Security for me was exclusive. It was the exclusive benefits of a person and the rights of a person if they suffer an accident in the workplace or their aging population, and they could receive a pension for having worked for many, many years. But Social Security opened itself up to me in a splendid way, because when you're working with kids, when you're working with professors in complex scenarios, in abundant scenarios, and LATAM is full of contrast. And there's so many cross-crop subjects that affect America. There's social injustice. Migration is an issue. I'm Venezuelan in origin, and I'll tell you that 8 years ago, approximately, or I've seen 8 or 9 million Venezuelans flee the country. And that occurs, that happens in Central America when countries or economies face violence. So, a step at a time, we started feeding life to the work that's here in my hands. And we received observations from kids and mediators and other relevant stakeholders. We created books about taking care of your body, teenage pregnancy, the family environment, the surrounding, the context, democratic participation, raising awareness and knowledge about what happens with government and the state. So in this material, we have an assembly of topics in the material that enable us to teach about Social Security even furthermore. Another important topic for us is the essence of the book leads us to open up to that near future. We don't see that future, but we face that future. There's important ruptures happening between generations or cross generations. There's alpha generations after the centennial generation, the X generations, Gen X, we all use new technologies with our new generations. There's AI or artificial intelligence developments that changes the way in which we're part of the workforce and how we relate with our peers, colleagues, and other members of our surrounding or context. So I celebrate this initiative that had the support of the Inter-American Conference. I celebrate the fact that this material has led us to join the session today, and I'm anxious to learn about other experiences or cases of reference like the Uruguayan developments. That's very important, and other things that are happening in the region. For me, that's a clear objective. That's why I'm here with the attitude of I'm always learning. and I want to learn from other countries. I want to learn about social security cultures in other economies. For me, from what I've said, this is experience. And amidst the experience that I've earned or accrued, I'm still hunting, looking for material that's so abstract, material topics that seem so far away, so legal in their nature, so economic. And you have to share all these topics or the syllabus with kids that are constituted by flesh and bone, that are living in rural, underdeveloped economies, in farmlands or marginalized regions. This material has its history. This project was approved in Medellin with a ideographic or the postcards that are bullets of information that have been created by kids and professors that has led us along the right path. The material that's created is never perfect. So we have to constantly reach that perfection with the right soul, the spirit, and with the pleasure and honor of creating literature using the element of creation and creativity that's vital to keep our societies in harmony, balance, fairness, and well-being. So thank you all very much.
Muchas gracias, Manuel. Yo sé que eres muy modesto.
Thank you very much. You're very modest, but sir, you didn't mention that you have been the author of 6 books about children's literature specifically, and you've drafted or written over 10 books for kids, also considering the other books you've created about Social Security and its culture that's embedded. Thank you so much, Manuel.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you all. And once more, we're about to, celebrate the thrilling part of it. You were celebrating the openness of the international seminar. And what thrills me is opening the floor for our Dr. Mauricio Hernandez Avila. He is here in person. Thank you, sir, very much. He has an epidemics degree in Harvard. He is a researcher level 3. He is part academia in Mexico, and in the U.S. he was under deputy of health in the Ministry of Health in Mexico. He was the DG general director of the Social Security or Health Services in Mexico. He's currently the post holder of Social Security benefits and planning of Social Security. Thank you, doctor, for being part of this panel. Welcome once again. Thank you very much for the kind invite. And through me, I salute you on behalf of Mr. Zoe Robledo. Due to his tight agenda, he hadn't joined us at the panel, but I'm here representing the government official. I thank all the panel members. Thank you very much. I salute you, and I'm honored as well. There's a little bit to say from my side, but I'll be succinct and brief. We foster the culture of Social Security, and that should be an objective, a clear objective, very important. Our Social Security benefits are broad, but if we are not knowledgeable about what Social Security is, they're not going to be exercised. Our rights aren't exercised, nor will we trigger the benefits and the use of them. It's a human right. Social Security is something that's constantly evolving. So rights are affected in a positive sense or sometimes in a negative sense through different means or actions, resources. In Mexico, we have the legislative branch, the process of the judiciary branch, and of course, the executive branch with the programs that have been tangible or implemented. This enables us to communicate this broader coverage or the variations or fine-tuning of the matter, which is highly complex. Now, let me mention a few. Since 2019 to the present date only, I'll mention the compatibility of schemes. What does this mean? That construct means that there's a person that owns a pension because that person has been working for a lifetime and they can have access to a pension scheme, or if somebody's widow, they can have access to a pension for their protection. So we can obtain as a subject, as an individual, you can receive 2 pensions. Another construct, there's medical care leave, or there's parents that are insured, that have kids that turned up to 16 years old, and they can have a diagnosis of cancer. If somebody suffers cancer in the household, they can be absent from the workplace with the protection and subsidy from the labor force so they can support their child during the condition or the disease that they live. It's very important. That benefit, for example, is 60%. It's a new benefit that's offered by the Institute that covers 60%. And it was implemented under a specific construct by government in some sort of camouflage. And we want this benefit to be known by the citizenship and exercised. Amidst the pandemic, for example, Social Security led us all to draft public policies, Social Security policies to protect the workforce. So we drafted, and this is branched out into two. There's two leaves due to COVID. And you had a permit to leave the workplace because you're living with COVID. If a worker called the workplace and said, I'm having a headache, I can't, my senses are done, can't taste nor smell, those were the classical symptoms of COVID. So they could, by digital means, receive the permit to be at home offices or supported and subsidized by government. And this helped the workers stay at home. And we try to fight the spread of COVID. To deal with the paperwork of receiving that permit, you had to contact your employer, the financial institutions, and other stakeholders or links in the whole process or so the same thing was applied to other types of workers, and they could also go through the process of achieving a maternity leave permit and support mechanism through digital means or channels. So we had to develop other paths to face the situation amidst COVID that I will not mention. But in 2020, there was an amendment of Article 170. And that amendment cut down the worked weeks to 150 work weeks. Just a few Mexicans know this about this amendment. That was a public announcement. It was announced in 2020, where we were facing the toughest year, the worst scenario amidst COVID. So there's clearly pendings in our agenda. We need to inform and spread the knowledge about this. Another important step forward that impacts with significance, we eliminated discrimination due to gender when our people needed to have access to daycare systems and the network. We eliminated the word male or female in the law. Now, after the amendment, is a working person, so parents, whether irrespective of gender, they could have access to that benefit of Social Security. So the daycare systems and network at IMSS were going to be saturated, but no, the coverage was there, but what made it all feasible was the fact that the workers, it wasn't, the daycare systems were saturated because the workers weren't aware or didn't know that they have access to daycare systems for their children. And that's happened to us with women that work at the household or domestic workers. If we asked the workers if they wanted to have access to a daycare for their child, then their whole world brightens up because we detected there's a great need of disseminating this knowledge of what's been done, but that knowledge has to be spread and we have to communicate the benefits of Social Security. In November 2022, what happened, that's a highlight, we followed the example of Uruguay. We had the amendments in our law. There was a process of reform for the domestic workers. They were now affiliated and they're registered. So we're sending a communication strategy across that there's no risk, that it's easy to create a record of the people that work at home so they could have benefit and be part of the roster. So we're moving forward. With this, I finish. There is independent or outsourced workers or freelancers that have benefits. The workers that are working in other economies, like in the US, they want to insure their relatives, their families, and they want to continue quantifying the worked weeks to receive a pension at the end. But it's not of general knowledge. So we have to work a lot. There's much to do. We want this all to be known so we can strengthen Social Security as culture. What are we doing to set the example? Important examples now. What we're doing right now, we're working and fighting illiteracy. We're working to strengthen social security. It's a core subject that's very difficult to communicate and send the message across. We have our massive sites. We have communication strategies, which are massive. We're working with the CTM, the Workers Union of Mexico. So we're creating a program only creating that program for workers, regulated subjects, so they know about the benefits that are offered of Social Security. I mean, there's this program is something that's being done in person, face to face, and we're communicating these programs with social or union leaders. So we're going through that communication effort with the union leaders, and we're including 2 million workers. Now, we're also creating another program that's called Rediscovering IMSS, Social Security Rediscovery. Inform yourselves. We have also assessments and that we can help the workers or the regulated workforce to be informed about what's the programs and what's been done. And we have other means of access to different platforms or websites. Which are the outputs, the results? The platform that we're using has enabled us to reach amidst COVID and post COVID, 20 million people. We have created this platform and it's constituted as a interface to train our people. It's very important. And I believe that if we're all sensitive enough, we are sensitive because we're in this session, in this panel, and this will also enable us to lead our focus to spread the knowledge about the benefits offered by Social Security authorities. Now, I believe that we have our lessons learned. In Mexico, our lessons amidst the reform process, the amendments that took place back in 97, they were material in 97, that changed the way in which we use the funds. And that reformed, created it was not part of a simultaneous legislative process of educational reform. So there is a solidarity fund, and that budget is going to be used to support the new generation of Mexicans that can have access to certain pension schemes that are not dignified enough. But I don't know what could be. There's so much. Everything's so tied down to religion, baptism, bar mitzvahs, and all the religious dogmas and celebrations. Social Security should have that backbone. It's like the first steps, how to obtain the first training to learn about Social Security benefits. When you're in the early stages of life, when you get married, when you have an insurance, how many weeks have you worked formally? We correlate this to culture and society and to our life. The truth of the matter is that people who are beneficiaries that are insured, they might not know the benefits that they have. So in this session, we have a clear intention of creating material resources books, and we call Social Security authorities and agencies to build centralized collective intelligence that ties down everything on behalf of the Social Security authorities, IMSS, and the president of IMSS. I'm on board with this collective effort and initiatives. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. And we thank our panel members. Thank you for being here at the Presidium in person and those who are linked to the session remotely. Thanks to all who sent your videos. We thank Manuel, Sonia, Mr. Secretary, Dr. Emilio. Thank you all for being part of this session. I don't know, sir, if you'd like to express your announcement to celebrate the closure of this initial panel, and we welcome you once again to be part of this international seminar. And thank you for staying with us. There's certifications of your participation, and you're going to be issued one if you're here in the afternoon sessions. Sometimes we're asked to issue a certification, but you have to be present. Mr. Manuel Hernandez will continue with a seminar that starts at 4 at a remote setting and in-person setting. Stay with our conference streaming. We're a bit delayed or off schedule with today's agenda. We have a 15-minute delay. but we're gonna continue working, and we're gonna start this first work table where we're gonna listen to some of the cases of reference based on the membership's experience. The moderator of this dialogue is gonna be led by Mr. Daniel Ramirez, and he'll take the floor. Sometimes I consume time taking the mic, but thank you very much for joining us once again.
Un, dos, tres para seguridad social. Trabajadores del campo. La señora Lupe vende empanadas en la esquina de mi casa. Todas las mañanas está ahí, al lado de su cesta. Siempre dice lo mismo. ¡Empanadas! ¡Empanadas! Como si cantara. Antes trabajaba como jornalera. Nos dijo un día que mi papá le preguntó, pero se vino porque allá es muy difícil y ella ya tiene su edad. Lo veo en sus manos cada vez que le compramos. Un, dos, tres para seguridad social.
Todos contribuimos. En un país, todas las personas que realizan un trabajo formal o informal contribuyen con la seguridad social, que es una manera de ayudar al bien común. Las personas que ayudan en las tareas de la casa, los ancianos, los niños y aquellos que tienen alguna discapacidad aportan de muchas maneras a la seguridad social. Todos participamos para que una comunidad sea próspera. La ayuda que damos para distribuirnos las cargas son formas de crecer juntos.
Un, dos, tres para seguridad social.
Cuando un niño o una niña, un adolescente, un adulto o una persona mayor está enfermo, tiene derecho a que el Estado le garantice asistencia médica. Y si por alguna razón una persona no puede trabajar, debe recibir un ingreso para poder mantener a su familia, hasta que pueda encontrar un nuevo empleo. Todas las personas mayores tienen derecho a una pensión y las madres a un apoyo por maternidad. Los beneficios que contribuyen para que exista protección para las personas a lo largo de toda su vida es lo que se llama seguridad social. La seguridad social es un derecho humano, contribuye con el bienestar colectivo y proporciona medidas para la inclusión. De este modo, se garantizan sociedades más justas.
Un, dos, tres para seguridad social.
Prestaciones por vejez. Mi abuelo sale por las tardes a la plaza. Ahí se ve con sus amigos. Don Julio, que trabajaba con él en la misma empresa, y otros señores que se reúnen para hablar bajo la sombra de los árboles. Casi siempre hablan de sus pensiones. El día que la cobran es el más feliz de todos.
Un, dos, tres para seguridad social.
Prestaciones familiares. En mi barrio hay muchas familias grandes, como la mía.
Session of Exchanges of Social Security Culture. This is an international seminar.
This seminar, international seminar. So for our international audience, we have simultaneous translation. Please find it in the bar below the screen. So I'll speak in Spanish. Nosotros contaremos con traducción simultánea que podrán encontrar en la plataforma de Zoom. Tendremos participaciones en español y en inglés en este panel. En particular, veremos las experiencias de Uruguay, Canadá, Cuba y República Dominicana en materia de seguridad social. Estamos por comenzar.
We are about to start with the next presentation. We have the participation of the Social Provision Bank, Employment and Social Development Agency from Canada, from the Social Security Institute from Cuba, and the Dominican Republic Council. The first participation is Mrs. Daniela Barindelli, Director of Social Security Prevention Bank in Uruguay. She is going to share the great experience of PPS, public accounted by the School of Economics and the Administration and master degree in taxes right by the Montevideo University. She has been advisor in the National Parliament, director of the Unit of National Committee for Information, director of the project of the Industrial Academic Center for IT, national coordinator for e-commerce in Comersur, president of the Contract Commission, and professor of the Technical Professional Unit. Mrs. Barindelli, thank you so much for being in this seminar. For us, the Uruguayan experience has been a guideline. You are the best representative to share with us your experience. You have 20 minutes for this participation. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all of you. I have an honor. The honor is for me to be here with you, as I mentioned to you in the beginning of this seminar. I am going to share my screen to explain to you the program for social education in Uruguay. This is the training that we have in Uruguay. I hope you can all see my screen. This presentation is going to talk about the education program of Social Security in Uruguay. I am going to be talking about collaboration and interinstitutionality, sustainability, and accessibility of the program, long-term impact, and its evolution. The education program on Social Security in Uruguay started as a response to the need of the lack of knowledge about rights and duties of the social security system that citizens had. And as a result, many citizens had no access to benefits because they didn't know that they were available. As a result, the Social Provision Bank implemented a very robust program with multiple phases to educate and to train on Social Security, and this program started in 2007. It was necessary to sign an interinstitutional agreement among the Social Provision Bank, that is the ruling entity of Social Security in the country, the ANEP, the National Association for Public Education, the ruling entity for education, and another one with the National Mail in Uruguay in order to distribute all the material. I am going to walk you through the program so you can have a better idea of it. But first, I would like to talk about the pillars of this program. The first pillar is the integration of the curricula. Social Security became a mandatory subject matter in all the schools of the country. So in all the curricula of the educational entities in primary school, secondary school, and in technical professional schools, it is mandatory to include in the syllabus the social security subject matter, both in private and public academies. Another pillar, educational material that it's handed over to the students. Interactive manuals, interactive books that are provided to all the students in the country. When the students receive these materials, they can share that with their families, promoting the discussion of social security matters out of the classroom. That is going to give a different context. Another fundamental pillar is training and development. Educational content were designed by interdisciplinary teams with an active participation of the students. They organized preliminary workshops for that purpose. So, as a result, the contents were tested by students before including all these materials in the manuals. Teachers, professors were trained on social security matters. The training was given by officers of the Social Provision Bank, emphasizing training for inspectors on the subject matter citizen education that enshrines the issue of social security. And besides that, they design a specific material for professors and teachers. The target group of this program were all the students, starting from initial education up to those that go back to the educational systems, adults that are returning back to the educational environment. This approach by steps help for all the people to understand and to value all the social security principles according to their needs and their comprehension level. And that's why we design 5 different manuals. The first one, it is Growing Together, Creciendo Juntos. It's a book for the students for initial studies for children of 4-year-old children. It is like a storytell book that introduce fundamental concepts of social security, promoting this way cooperation and solidarity. This is very appealing for children because everything is done with a narrative as a storytelling. And for primary school, we design an interactive book for primary school, primary years. The target group are children between 9 and 11 years old, more or less. This book fosters activities, and this is the first glance that children receive about social security, the approach of social security protection. They understand what is the role that social provision bank plays in the social security system in Uruguay. And it speaks also about the rights and the duties of the same. The idea is to raise awareness about social security. Now, for secondary education and technical professional students, the name of the manual is Learn About Your Rights and Duties in Social Security. It has two different levels, level 1 and level 2, elaborating in the concepts that were introduced during the primary schools. And now they talk about solidarity as the main pillar for Social Security, the relevance of participating in the Social Security system, and it has been designed to prepare young people to enter into the labor market, learning about their rights and duties and responsibilities. As I told you, there is another manual that it's called Learn About Your Rights and Your Obligations or Duties in Social Security, level 3, at the advanced level. And this is for the program for adult people that are going back to the educational system. So they uh, teach them in a simple way different tools for coverage, unemployment, motherhood, older days. So it's like a practical guide for those that are already in the social security system. These are some images of the manuals that I just spoke about. And as you can see, they are very colorful, very didactical, friendly user, and they are very appealing. They invite you to read them. These materials were designed not only to provide them with information, but to train them, to form students and adult people to understand that Social Security is a relevant part of their life. The idea is to raise awareness about what is the meaning of social protection. This comprehensive approach has a sequence, making sure that all the segments of the population are informed and prepared to actively participate in the social security system. The main results that we have noticed with this program and the impact that this has had is the increase in raising awareness and in the understanding of the subject matter. This program was designed not only with educational purposes, but also to show the relevance of solidarity and collective responsibility. And we have accomplished that. Students bring back their manuals to their families. So their relatives have been approached to this knowledge and they learn about that. The curricular integration has been successful, ensuring that every student, since initial education, receives an ongoing education that is consistent about their rights and obligations. Another important result that we have accomplished is the participation and the feedback that we receive from students. This feedback and participation during the designing and the implementation of the materials that I mentioned to you. All these materials have been tested in different socio-economical environments as well as in private and public sectors, proving that these materials are effective and undoubtedly they have collaborated for a better understanding and for the students to own all this knowledge. It also has had a great impact in the community. The distribution of educational materials has exceeded the school environment. It outreached also families, houses, and as I've said several times, it has fostered discussions of social security in a wider context, undoubtedly contributing to raising aware about this subject matter in the general society. And it is also important to mention the results that we have noticed in the issue of economical sustainability. These materials have a low cost and the involved participations have no don't charge for that. So the cost of this material is affordable. It is the equivalent of one ticket for transportation in the Montevideo area. So for this, we reach agreement among different institutions that were involved, and that was very relevant because they were not charging for royalties or copyright for their illustrations or their contents. And the use is exclusively for these materials. They were granted to the program. The copyrights were granted to the program. As a result, the cost of the manuals is very low, ensuring the program's sustainability. Currently, what is the status of this program? As we speak, we are redesigning the education program for Social Security. The main reason is that there was an impasse as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. As we all know, we faced unprecedented challenges in all the sectors. And of course, this was not the exception. The educational sector was also impacted. On the other hand, in Uruguay, we are implementing two national projects that needed to be revised, and strategies and material of the educational program in Social Security had to be redesigned. These processes are the reform of Social Security that was enacted on the year 2020. Commission of experts carried out a diagnosis of Social Security, making recommendations about the potential changes. The executive branch authorized a bill of law. It was discussed, and then the law 2030 that reforms the Social Security Act was passed in the year 2023, and it was enacted on August 23. And this reform is enacting some changes in the Social Security system. And we are also facing an educational transition process that has required the redesigning of the educational programs in schools that had to do with competences and governance in the educational system. Due to all of this, we needed to update the manual's content so they can reflect all these changes properly into the new manual. And the Social Security syllabus had to be included in all the curricula that are relevant for the educational sector. So what is the current status? Despite all these changes and to face all these changes, we needed to keep on working. We are about to announce a training course for professors so they can be updated with the provisional system, and this course is going to be given by officers of the provision bank, and we are working on designing the manuals for initial education. They have been redesigned. There were not a lot of changes because it's education on the values of solidarity, citizens' responsibility, and all these subject matters suffer few changes. In primary, all the materials for the primary level were already redesigned. The text has been changed. We are still working in the graphic design and in the book for primary course. Let me tell you that the Social Provision Bank, it's part of the board of the ANEC together with other entities. And we are constantly involved in the designing of educational material. And we have been invited to take part in the program for Social Security education at a secondary level. When we talk about how the program contributes to make Social Security a universal concept, I can tell you that early education is key because it allows to raise awareness on Social Security, and this can be spread all over the society. Highlighting the relevance of social protection is fundamental. It has to be included in all these syllables to ensure Social Security universality. When we involve citizens as young as 4 years old, we make possible that this system is going to protect children and family whenever they need it and in contingency times, because they learn about the rights that they have in case of unemployment, motherhood, and all elderly. They learn about their rights, their responsibilities, and the way the system is financed. Because employees, employers, and society as a whole participate in the contribution. And it's fundamental to formalize work. Raising awareness about the fact that formal work allows social coverage before any contingency contributes to the economic well-being of the country and of the citizens. And this has been proven during COVID-19 pandemic, because the Social Provision Bank in Uruguay gave a lot of grants, benefits, and subsidies to people that were formally employed. After the pandemic, when we were able to see the real impact and the advantages of the Social Security system, there was an increase of formal jobs in Uruguay. And what are the learnings? and other initiatives? Because this is one of the questions that was raised in the roadmap that we received to make this presentation. The Social Provision Bank has monitored closely the initiatives from other countries. Since the declaration of Guatemala, we have noticed an increasing growth in initiatives that promote knowledge and engagement with Social Security. Each one of the international programs offers valuable perspectives to enhance our approach in Uruguay. We are always open to learn and to adopt different learnings from others in order to adapt it to our specific context. The main learning is cultural adaptation. We have to consider how programs are adapted to specific cultural needs of every country. This helps us to understand how we can adapt our own initiatives so they can resonate properly in our country. Innovation in educational methods. There were different methods used internationally, and we learned from different tools that can be developed in Uruguay. TICs, playful methodologies, and so forth. Comprehensive methodologies. We have seen how other countries have used different initiatives like community campaigns, communication campaigns that can be complemented with our program. Challenges and solutions. Challenges that other countries have faced by implementing programs about educating in Social Security matters will allow us to anticipate and to mitigate situations in our own context. Another question that we received was how to generate synergies in order to implement at a regional level all these initiatives. We clearly believe that the value of sharing knowledge strengthens different systems in the region. We do believe that. Therefore, we design different strategies, and we are proposing the following: platforms for knowledge exchange, for the regional strengthening, where countries can share regularly experiences and challenges. Technical cooperation, to promote technical cooperation among Social Security institutions and educational entities at a regional level. Participation of international organizations. Involve international organizations that already have experience and resources to implement this type of programs. Research and joint assessment and evaluation to design joint research projects, and results can be adapted and can promote ongoing enhancement. Organized regional seminars and events similar to the ones that we are in now, promoting the exchange of knowledge and experiences. In summary, I would like to tell you that these educational initiatives are not only good for information, but they are great transformers. They contribute to make universal social security. They help us to create more resilient and inclusive societies. And on the other hand, they make sure that every individual in the society understands the value of social security so they can defend this relevant pillar of our society, promoting an active and consciousness awareness of the system. And by doing so, by educating on social security matters like the educational program does in Uruguay, we are not all only preparing individuals to have a better understanding of the social security, but it strengthens the economic and the social fabric of the country, promoting democratic systems. Due to all of these reasons, I would like to invite you to keep on engaged, creating collaboration networks, because with our joint effort, we are going to make sure that social security is not only going to be a social security scheme, but it's going to really enhance the protection of the individuals in the region. So this is what I wanted to share with you about the educational program in Uruguay. I am here for your questions, and if you wish, I am open to collaborate with all of you in order to have a better social security system in all of our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Barindelli. Thank you so much. Without doubt, ma'am, the case of Uruguay is one of the most innovative ones. It's one of the cases that proves that it's efficient and it inspires the rest of the LATAM region. So I would like to fall back and retake and stress on that point that you've mentioned about the Guatemalan Declaration and the catalyst. It was a catalyst that drove forward or their programs for social security culture development in the region. And this subject or topic specifically at a regional scale, we've analyzed and are working avant-garde or at top levels with other regions and countries of the world. To continue with today's agenda, let's go through the analysis of the Canadian Social Employment Agency of Canada. We're going to analyze that case. We have two participants or stakeholders of this entity, Hilary Clark and Mr. Clooney. Hilary Dark and Clooney are present, so I'll share their bios with you before the floor is open for them. Mr. Clooney is an executive of top innovation, top performance, 25 years of experience in Social Security Agencies of Canada. Craig Clooney has been acknowledged for his achievements in different projects of policy drafting, public health, and he's been the IT services post holder amidst the pandemic and COVID-19. He's the executive lead with the Retirement Center who received an accreditation or a token of their achievements. He has the Memorial University degrees in Newfoundland at Labrador, and he also finished an accreditation that took 2 years of organizational structure of NTL, or the Institute for Applied Behavioral Sciences at Washington, D.C., U.S. And Ms. Hilary Dirk, she's a dynamic leader, works with strategy, passionate for what she does, improving customer experiences. She's dedicated 20 years as a professional to improve the services offered to Canadian citizens. And she has also been acknowledged for the transformation in business and the programs for Canadians. She has been proven her performance in corporate associations entities. She's reached high engagement using technology. Hilary has the capacity to recruit and keep top talent management and leads with enthusiasm, humor, and honesty. She has a psychology degree. Greg, Hilary, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Buenos dias, delegados. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Thank you very much for the invitation. Really, really happy to be here. I wish I could do more in Spanish, but that is my limit. So hopefully the translators will be able to keep up with my English. But what a pleasure to be here today. We're taking a different tack than some of the other panelists. We're going to have some fun with you. You're going to see a demonstration of our product. We're going to talk to you about our retirement hub, which we are extremely proud of. We'll talk to you about why we did it, how we got there, and then we're going to demo it for you. And hopefully you'll be able to take some best practices out of that and use it back in your own host countries. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into the presentation, but I will situate you with a few facts as you're reading the topics that we'll cover. So we work in a department that's called Employment and Social Development Canada. It has the third largest budget or operating budget in all of the Canadian departments. We've got about $100 billion budget. It's fairly significant, and we provide all the social services benefits to all Canadians, or the vast majority of them. 75% of our plan spending is dedicated to old age security and Canada Pension Plan. So for Canadians that retire, we basically provide them with their benefits. So this retirement hub is a tool that we've designed in a very short period of time to be able to address what we refer to as pain points for Canadians who are about to retire or who are retired, to reduce some of the pressures that we have in our call centers, but also to make things easier for folks. So we're going to walk you through a little bit of this. And like I said, the big part of our presentation today will be Hillary, who walks us through a demo. So you're probably wondering why. I talked a little bit about it just from a financial perspective. We also saw that a lot of people were calling in. We know this particular demographic or clientele isn't all or are not all computer savvy with the internet. So they typically like to call. So we wanted to proactively get ahead of that. And essentially what we've done is we've, at the result of the fact that we now have a new Minister of Citizen Services, are starting to look at our programs, not from a program delivery perspective, but from a life event perspective. A little bit like the previous delegate talked about in terms of earlier childhood education. Well, we're looking at things from a life event perspective. Birth, marriage, about to retire, there's different things and reasons as to why clients would reach out to us as a department or perhaps would need our services. So under this sort of OPSIS or umbrella is how we drove this next project that I'm about to talk to you about. So we'll move to the next slide, Melanie. So the very first thing we did is we had to put ourselves in the shoes of our clients. I know it sounds strange, but we don't often do it. It's terrible to admit it. We get ourselves into a bit of a scenario where we provide services, we cut checks, we make sure that people get what they need from our perspective. But we rarely take the time, or we don't take it often enough to sit down and speak with clients. Hillary will talk to you a little bit about that when we talk about our approach. But one of the most important things that we did was we looked at some of our client satisfaction surveys from Canadians, and we had a look at what we referred to earlier as pain points. We know that most of these clients start to think about it and worry about it early, long before they retire. They want to know what their benefits are. And we know that some of them don't necessarily trust government officials. It sounds strange, I know, but my own parents are two clients of our department. And when they get a call from the government, it's, okay, what's that about? Don't know what it's about. It's often overwhelming for this sort of clientele. So we know that their worries are early, which often results in phone calls to us or it drags down the system. We also know that internally within our department, because we're set up not from a life event perspective, but from a program delivery perspective, that we don't have one single source of truth. So often our clients will have to call 2 or 3 different areas within our department to respond to their questions. We're not proud of that. We're working on it. And these are kind of the things that we're doing right now. Our service delivery limitations often dictate that we have to deliver the services that way. We either do them online or through call centers. And again, as I said before, and as you're all aware, we are a vast country with all kinds of different services that had to be provided and in 2 official languages. So that limits us as well. Our applications, coming back to the point I made earlier, can be overwhelming, confusing, and complicated. Like all of you, I'm sure back in your own departments and your own countries, we have a way of making anything that we do when we interact with our clients overly complicated. The applications themselves we found were very difficult to read, were not in plain language, and we had to do what we could to plain language to provide these better services. And last but not least, unfortunately, and it was particularly acute during the pandemic, is we found that getting back to some of our clients with their questions was taking a lot longer than what we would have liked, which resulted in more calls from our clients or in fact more inquiries. So this is the whole adage of no news is bad news, and that's often how it's interpreted from their perspective. Now, I don't want to pretend that we're well ahead of every other country in what we're doing here. This isn't new science. In fact, I wholeheartedly admit that we're in fact behind Australia, New Zealand, the US. A lot of these other countries in the Commonwealth have actually gone and adopted a life event approach much better than we have. And we're just on the cusp of doing it. And here was our first kick at it. And as with any good result, we've been rewarded by doing a couple more. And we'll talk to you about that as we get into the actual retirement hub itself. Mel will move to the next slide. So what we did here is we had to have some goals in mind. And what was really novel about it, and this is in the how, we assembled people from all across our department. I didn't tell you how many people there were. There are 34,000 people in our department. It's one of the largest that we have in Canada for providing these services. And we pull people from everywhere, from the client services officers, from the operational side, the ones who talk to the clients on a daily basis, to the people who wrote the policies. We assembled them when we landed on a mission. And that mission statement is what guided us for the whole work that we did. I didn't talk about the duration of the work. We started this in November of 2022, and we actually launched our retirement hub in the spring of 2023. So in the course of about 4 to 5 months, we delivered something to the client. Now that sounds like a long time, but this was a significant shift in the way that we do our work. And it was really, really accelerated in being able to respond to these pain points. You'll see what we envisioned as outcomes. These were shared by all. In the sessions that we held that Hillary will speak more about, we used some pretty fancy technology, not all that different than what we're using today, but different with regards to how we would normally work. We really broke the barriers and turned things upside down. And we did this with the sole goal of making sure that we could address the pain points, and more importantly, putting the client's needs first rather than our own. As a client, they don't care who they talk to when they're reaching out to us as the department. They don't need to know that it's one particular group that's responsible for one program and another group that's responsible for another. They want their services rendered and as efficiently as possible. So regardless of how we're organized internally, this was about the interface with the client, making sure that they saw us as but one department. We'll go to the next slide. So I talked a little bit about this one, and I guess you can see the happy face, the sad face, the frowns, the inquisitive faces, and the groans there. And it really was that. As I said before, we turned the department upside down. Probably one of the hardest things that we did, and I'll speak to what we learned in doing this, in case anyone wants to mimic it, is we had to convince our own employees and ourselves that we had to do what I refer to as leaving our badges at the door. That meant that regardless if you were responsible for a particular program, you literally had to forget about that and again, think about the client. What would the client want? What would they need to know? Is it important for them that they know that when they're talking to you that you're from a particular program or you work in a particular area of our 34,000 people in our department? Not at all. What they needed to know is that they could get answers to their questions and address, as I talked about before, the pain points. So we assembled these folks. We held numerous workshops over the course of this 3-4 month period. We had the sponsorship of our most senior management, including our minister, and we were able to deliver a product that, as I said before, we're extremely proud of. One of the things that we did, which was really important with this cross-functional team, is we did not limit ourselves. We started by actually just whiteboarding and brainstorming. If there were no limits at all in terms of how we were set up, what might we offer in terms of services? Now, obviously, reality came into play, and we had to quickly curtail that. We could not offer everything that we dreamt up, but what we did do is deliver what we referred to as a minimal viable product, which was something that could be done in the short time frame that we gave ourselves that would make an immediate difference for the clients. And we can also build off. We'll go to the next slide, please. I think this is where I turn to you, and you're going to talk about some of these features, right, Hillary?
Absolutely. Thanks, Craig. Buenos dias. I'm going to start by giving you a little breakdown before we get into the demo, just to give you an understanding of the features that we built and how we organize them. So you can see from this slide that we grouped into two major areas, awareness and planning. So for the awareness features, we really wanted to focus on consolidating information, contextualizing the benefit information that currently exists, and displaying it and offering it in a way that was more user-friendly in an accessible format, really easy to follow on our platform. And then the planning side was really to offer some personalized tools to help support decision-making for our seniors. So things like their individual situation, when might they want to retire, what benefits could potentially be available to them. And we developed a checklist that I'll show you very shortly to really allow them to play around with different scenarios to inform those decisions. Next slide, please, Melanie. So who did we talk to? So as Craig mentioned, we really wanted to engage seniors. We wanted to hear and get real life feedback to understand what were some of their challenges, what were some of the concerns, questions they may have, and or features that they may find helpful. So using a broad range of clientele, we wanted to get very diverse and different perspectives to help inform what we actually built. Then once we started building the product, we actually went back and we tested with seniors again. So this was not only to get their information, build something, but then actually have them try it out and let us know, are we hitting the mark? Are we addressing the pain points that you've shared with us? Which really allowed us to develop something that we didn't feel was just our own opinion, but actual real citizens and Canadians to help them guide through. And this information was most critical for addressing the pain point of applications can be overwhelming. To Craig's point, they don't know the difference between departments or benefits sometimes. So how do we simplify that to really help guide them through to make sure that they're aware of the benefits and that they're actually getting the benefits to which they're entitled? Next slide, please. So why? Why is data important? We had a successful launch, and some of the statistics, they continue to grow day by day. As Craig mentioned, we launched the Retirement Hub in the spring of 2023, and initially we had about 300 visitors per day. We are now well over 1,000 unique visitors every single day. So the word is getting out. We've done a wealth of communication efforts, also working with third-party providers to really make sure that folks are aware that this tool is out there and it's valuable, and inviting folks to come and use it. The data that we're seeing so far is that pages where clients are spending the most time are around the pain points of where we start early. Clients are feeling concerned well before they even connect with our department. And also to Craig's point on no single source of truth, often the burden is on the client to make sense of the information. So the pages that were developed to address those pain points are the ones where folks are spending the most time. As well, we're seeing that around 85% of the visitors that are coming to the Retirement Hub are coming from search engines like Google. And then once they land on and find the Retirement Hub, about 88% of them are actually visiting more than one page and spending time there. So this is an indication to us that the product is interesting, it's easy to navigate, and it's really simplifying. They can click one or two pages to get the information that they need. So we're going to do a quick demonstration in real time. So when accessing the Retirement Hub, this is the page that you will land on. So you don't have to sign in. You select English or French. We'll go with English for the purpose of today's demonstration. And you can see that there's 4 main tabs here: learning, planning, applying, and managing. So we're going to spend a little bit of time just going through each one. So you can see on the learning tab, it's providing the users with a bit of useful information and some top learning links. And these are links that they can access. They can read a little bit more about public pensions, rules of thumb. We also have created real life personas again, to Craig's point, talking about different situations and to help guide users through, they can find a personality that may match their own situation, but that's not their only option. Then we go to plan. So again, Plan is providing some other very useful tools that we did not develop, but other areas of the department did. And they go hand in glove with preparing for and planning for your retirement, excuse me. So Mel, can you show, we'll just show you some screenshots of the retirement income calculator. This is a very useful tool that allows users to go in and enter some of their information such as their birthday and so forth, their income, and it generates results that will help users to inform decision making. The other useful tool that was part of that link is the benefit calculator for the old age security pension. Again, this is a tool. We don't collect or store any personal information, so there's no privacy risk, but someone using this can go in and enter different scenarios on when they want to start retiring, and it gives them an indication of what their benefit amount may be. So again, these are all tools to help inform decision making on when to take their federal pensions. Then we have the tab on Apply. So the tab on Apply, again, provides useful links, which will bring the user directly to application forms and information for our two core retirement programs, the Canada Pension Plan and the Old Age Security. And finally, we have Manage tab. So the Manage tab is really an opportunity. We have an online service that we offer through our department called the My Service Canada account. It's an online portal that users can register for. It's secure. They can go in and they can actually access their own personal information. They can change certain information without having to call or ever go into one of our client service centers. They can also get real-time updates. If they've submitted an application, they can often track the status of that application. So again, this is keeping with that user-friendly, informative services to Canadians through the channel of their choice. Thank you, Mel. So now we're going to go back and we're going to walk you through in real time the quiz that we've been speaking about that was developed. Again, we're not storing any personal information. There's no privacy concerns, but it allows clients to go in and really try different scenarios to help inform some of their decision making. So one of the key design factors that was really important through this process was up front, before anyone even gets started, we want to make sure that clients understand, here's the information that you're going to need to be able to use this tool. It gives folks time to prepare, they can have a look, and then they say, okay, time to complete the survey is about 3 minutes. This was also very important in the design. If you make it quick and simple, chances are people will use the tool and they know what to expect going into this. Start the quiz. So here's the ready quiz. So again, when do you plan on retiring? So Melanie, let's say at 65, please. And there's only 8 questions as well. So it's short, it's to the point, and it's useful. Select all that apply to you. So we're going to say that we're married. And yes, we have children. Next question. How financially prepared do you feel? Let's say unprepared for today. And where do you plan on living when you retire? Well, I think we're going to live in Canada less than 6 months because Mexico is looking very good in the middle of January when you live where we do. Next question, please. And do you plan to earn money? We're going to say no. We're going to enjoy the sunshine. When you retire, what will your legal status be in Canada? Canadian citizen or permanent resident? From the age of 18, how many years have you lived in Canada? Let's say 40 years or more, please. And last question, are you receiving your Canada Pension Plan disability benefits? We're going to say no. So you can see after we've answered those questions relevant to our own personal situation, you're going to be provided with 3 categories of information. Here's the information that's important to you before you retire, and here are some resources. when applying for benefits. So these are tasks to think about. So again, this provides criteria and information specific to the benefits that our department offers, as well as tax implications for the Canada Revenue Agency. And then last but not least, while collecting benefits. This is really important because some of our benefits are portable outside of Canada. Indeterminately, some are only portable for 6 months. So it's really key to inform clients that if their situation changes, their marital status, their income situation, or where they're physically residing, they need to inform the department because there could be implications on their benefits. If you can just scroll back up to the top. Thank you, Melanie. So I'd like to share here too that there's also an opportunity to restart the quiz. They can store the quiz and come back. One of the really important, and it seems like such a small feature, but had such a huge impact, was an ability to print off these pages. Many of our clients rely on family members and third-party providers to help guide them through decision-making. So having that print feature big and bold on the screen for this demographic was really important. And so that was another key feature that seemed, minor at the time, but has had a huge impact for our clients. Craig, I'm not sure if you want me to mention anything about, in addition to our communication strategy, we are really getting a lot of positive feedback through social media. There's some social media influencers on YouTube who have actually created their own videos and celebrating this tool to promote awareness. So we seem to be really hitting the mark in terms of new ways of working, and from a government perspective, simplifying services and creating tools that resonate with our client base. And Craig, I believe it's back over to you.
Thanks, Hillary. That was a really important point to mention at the end there. I don't know if everyone caught it, but typically, I don't know if it's the same in your countries, when we get mentioned in the social media or we have YouTube influencers picking up our programs or services, it's not often in great regards. So we're very happy to see that some social influencers had posted, and we're very happy with the product that we have put forward. It goes without saying, while Hillary walked you through that, you folks can all take a look at it, obviously offline yourselves. The big thing that we're super proud of is the fact that we plain languaged the best that we could all the wording that you find in the quiz on our web pages. It took a significant effort working with both seniors as well as our own people within our department from an accessibility perspective, really aiming that I believe the school grade level of the language was to be somewhere around 6th grade or 7th grade, to make sure that we were reaching as many folks as we could. Because as I mentioned before, not only are our forms convoluted and complicated, so is some of the wording that we chose to put on our website. So we did what we could to tighten all that stuff up, and it's made a huge difference. So I'm going to spend the last couple of minutes just talking about our key factors for success. As you see here on the slide in front of you, I did talk about engaging our most senior executive champions. If any of you are interested to really find out the methodology, the agile thinking, the agile design that we had done, we can talk to you folks offline, reach out to us as other delegates have offered up. But we assembled a cross-functional team. That was critical because we had to have people from all parts of the department, because this touches every part of the department. We don't have a seniors program lead per se. So my shop with Hillary and her team drove this. We're not responsible for seniors. We don't have that accountability ourselves. What we did was we accelerated a solution on behalf of our clients, both internally and internally, because that's why the importance of having dedicated teams that are cross-functional, because we could not create this in a little bit of a vacuum. We had to have our stakeholders internally engaged, because they're the ones who are providing the ultimate answers to the clients. They're the ones that are interpreting the policy into operations or writing the policy. As I said before, we focused on the client experience. We followed our methodology of journey labbing, which we can chat with you, I talked about earlier. And we built on and put something together rapidly, built upon a strong foundational work plan that we knew would not meet all our needs. But we're proud of the fact that we got it out there when we did, because if we had stopped and waited to create what everyone wanted to create, there wouldn't be 1,000 people a day right now, or 250,000 so far since we've launched it, who benefited from this. So now that it's been out there for 6-8 months or so, we're actually going back to look at our MVP 2.0, or our minimal viable product 2.0. So some of the features that Hillary talked to you about, well, we've got a long list of other things we'd like to do, but we wanted to get it out there, get it out in the public, and see what the reaction was. So stay tuned. There will be more features added to our retirement hub on our Canada.ca page. And that's in keeping with getting something out quickly, building a piece that's scalable. And then I talked about the collaborative tools that we use, and setting the stage, obviously, is what I just mentioned in terms of accelerating the development and the approvals. That comes back to having the deputy minister of our department chairing our committee or our co-sponsorship group. So when we got stuck on something and we need to cut a few corners or some red tape, we went right to the deputy and said, okay, here's what's happening. And immediately we were able to unblock those issues, which allowed us to deliver this product as quickly as what we did. And that's been critical for us in both this Journey Lab, but also some of the other ones that I'm going to talk to you about on the next slide. So if you go to the next slide, Melanie, this is how we'll wrap things up for folks. So I did joke about it at the beginning, as most of you, when you do a really good job, what often happens as public servants is you get rewarded with more work along a similar lines. Well, the Retirement Hub was such a success that we are now driving 3 more what we refer to as life event Journey Labs. One is getting your personal information. So we often have folks who reach out to us to get access to their information. We've just finished that one, and we're about to launch a hub on that front and update some of our Canada.ca pages accordingly. We are also in the midst of wrapping up what I think is going to be, if not better, it will certainly be as good as the Retirement Hub, which is another very important life event where we spend a lot of time with clients, and one that's very, very sensitive, and that will be the loss of a loved one. So Melanie and her team and Hillary behind the scenes are driving this one, and we hope that by June we will soft launch it to the public. And ideally, by the end of the summer, we would have our minister announce it publicly. And another one that we've just recently launched would be starting or expanding a family. So in the queue after that, we have 3 or 4 more. Again, we don't have a program or department or someone who's responsible within the 34,000 people that I can call up and say, okay, loss of a loved one, that's your job. No, it's not. Starting or expanding a family, it's not their job. So we are working cross-functionally across the department to make sure that we're pulling in everyone who's implicated, and we'll end up with products very similar to the Retirement Hub. We'll go to the last slide. Thanks, Mel. So again, an offer to all of you, if you'd like to talk to us offline or send us an email. We're extremely proud of this. We're very happy about it. We're getting great kudos with our various different departments and provincially as well, not only at the federal level here within Canada. So if there's anyone who'd like to reach out, please don't hesitate to do so. And muchas gracias, delegados, and I'll go back to the moderator, please.
Thank you very much, Hillary and Craig. It was an enlightening talk. It showed us how technology and client orientation may help to decision making and also boost access to benefits. Now I'm switching to Spanish. Muchas gracias por esta presentación sobre la
Thank you so much for this presentation regarding your experience. And now we are going to hear from the Cuban experience. Mrs. Regina Reyes, General Director of the National Institute of Social Security in Cuba, has the floor. But before that, I would like to read her resume. Virginia Malen Garcia, Director of INAS from Cuba. She has had different positions in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Recently, she received an award by the International Association of Social Security for best practices regarding the protection of motherhood and maternity in Cuba. Virginia represents the Ministry of Labor in the American Commission of Elderly People and a statute member of the CISS. And he has a role in the development of elderly people and the designing of current policies for Social Security. You have 20 minutes for your presentation. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I would like to thank the conference for giving me the opportunity to be part of this conference to share our experience in the issue of Social Security. We have state and federal offices where we provide services to the general population, and they receive an immediate answer to all the requests that we received. We also have a database of the beneficiaries of Social Security, around 1,700,000 people. And we receive information in real time about the situation of the beneficiaries, allowing us the decision making for their protection. It's essential to have good communication in order to promote the culture of Social Security. We also accompany the processes of enacting every policy that has to do with Social Security. And therefore, the Ministry of Labor has put into practice the next initiatives for education in Social Security. We have enacted a web page where citizens can have access to all the publications. They can ask questions. They receive answers for those questions. We also have another platform. The name is Bienestar, to receive concerns from the population and to analyze every case. They can consult current pieces of law, and they can make a calculation about their contributions, taking into account the work that they have done at a state or at a federal level. We also have TV and radio programs to inform the population and to answer their concerns regarding Social Security and social assistance. We have a means of communication in order to replicate all the information to fulfill the needs for information. Periodically, we inform the legal opinions that are enacted, and we provide the corresponding information so population can have more information about Social Security, and they can face any situation. We have a branch, the Center for Social Security Studies, that have different branches in all the provinces of the country, where we train directors, experts, to ensure the right application of the current legal guidelines for Social Security. We promote training of partners and workers about the new state laws for SMEs, for non-agricultural cooperations, or freelancers. After the enactment of the new legal guidelines for other sectors, we created a lecture for elder people that has a representation in every province, contributing to update the beneficiaries about Social Security matters and about the legal framework, because they are no longer working. But the idea is for them to be updated and to have refreshed information so they can claim their rights. We strengthen also the Social Security by promoting a preventive culture among workers. We ensure the right to prevention by adopting appropriate measures to prevent accidents and professional diseases. The worker that has a work accident or has a professional disease can have access to subsidy or retirement in case of a permanent incapacity. 100% of mothers with severe discapacity can have 100% of subsidy. Also, mothers that have a medical certificate can receive some subsidy. Any pathology during pregnancy can be protected 100%. The average of the salaries of the 12 months received before the interruption of the work. We empower the culture for savings and insurance. When people have the age to retire, we support them because they enable the sustainability of the country. They have a lot of experience. The integration of people with disability have to be protected. We promote education and an ongoing training, personalized care for people and family in vulnerable situations, and social workers in every community and in every municipality can follow up different needs of discapacity people. We have measures for the population. The first one to set for fertility, and the population are replaced can be considered in the midterm. We have to consider the needs of the increasing population of 60 years old and to ensure their participation in the social, political, economic life of the country. We want to have employment for people that can work in order for them to be protected for all the risks that our current system has. Initiatives are targeting for officers, reserves, workers, and general population, and those that are participating actively in the economic and social development of the country. And therefore, as much as we can protect them, they can be protected for any risk, and they are going to be capable to convey and to promote this culture for every generation. We have reached a host of results. For the first time, we were able to have 100% coverage of elderly people, mainly by enacting the law for the agricultural sector, peasants, and freelance peasants that didn't have this protection. But now, after this decree, they are going to have that. So now we can say that 100% of risks are covered in the country. Population knows all the rights in Social Security, and they are prepared to claim them before the judicial entities accordingly. We have raised awareness regarding risk prevention to prevent labor accidents, and we train them in order to have the right use of the PPE. We enact the policies for public security and for social security at a regional and at a state level. Those that have special rights, all the workers have the same rights. We have the right to protect mothers and families. The health programs to prevent and to root out diseases have allowed us to increase the expectancy life, and now Cuba is a benchmark for the region with 78.3 years to the year 2023. In order to have a synergy in the region, it's necessary to socialize all these initiatives by organizing events and workshops like this one, where we can share best practices for Social Security. We have to set for collaboration networks among the countries of the region. And Social Security matters have a great impact in all the sectors of the society. Only 20% of world population has appropriate coverage for Social Security, and more than half of the population has no social protection. Social Security is clearly defined in the ILO agreements as a fundamental right, even though in their reality, a small proportion of our people in the country enjoys that right. Therefore, it has become a universal challenge in a globalized world. Thank you so much. This is what I wanted to explain to you regarding the best practices for education in Social Security in our country. Thank you so much, Mrs. Virginia Garcia Reyes. It was quite enlightening to hear about the Cuban experience. The truth is that you are doing a lot of innovative actions, and it has been great to have you here. And now, let's learn about the experience from another island in the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic case. Mrs. Maribel Justo Juarez, responsible of educational programs of the National Council for Social Security in Dominican Republic, has the floor now. But she is a candidate to PhD of the Program for Administration of Business Administration by the Universidad Pablo de Olavide in Seville. A certificate diploma of third cycles in the PhD program in Management Administration in the same university. A diplomate for conflict resolution, master's degree in business management, and MBA in management of business by the Catholic University in Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. Currently, she is responsible of the educational programs for Social Security, CNSS, and she has been the coordinator of the Epifania Pukun Minert Adru Penut program of the Research Center on Human Development by the Pontifice University in Santo Domingo, coordinator of the strategical program focused on schools. And she has been consultant on human resources by domestic affairs in the human resources department, and she has been responsible of the graduates course of mother and teacher from the Santo Tomás de Aquino School in Dominican Republic. You have 20 minutes for your presentation. Share with us the experience of the National Council. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for having me here. We have been friends for many years. Alvaro, thank you so much. I'm glad to see you here. Thanks to all the authorities and to all my colleagues that preceded me in this panel. In this international seminar, we would like to share our experience that dates back from for a while ago. But last year, we set forth some working guidelines regarding education on Social Security. This is the items that I am going to address: the legal framework, the backgrounds that we have had in education, the deployment of the education strategy, a culture on Social Security, what are the pillars of the strategy, how well are other institutions implementing this education, some educational actions, and current status. Currently, the legal framework for education is based on the Piece of Act 87, Article 6. This law was enacted on the year 2001. So next week, we are going to celebrate 23 years of the enactment of this piece of law. Article 6 states for specifically that education, basic education in Social Security, is led by the Ministry of Education, and it should include in the curricular, in the basic and medium levels, module for citizens to learn about this human right and to learn about the basic and the rights and the ways to take advantage of programs and options. And this is going to be applied also for technical studies. However, it was until last year where this National Council of Social Security was able to, after 23 years, was able to give the first step regarding this mandate, and we have prioritized this need of social security education with different approaches in order to promote in future citizens the culture of social security as well as with current citizens. We have three approaches in our view: children, teenager, young people, adult people, and population with discapacities. The first target group, it's education before college. We sign an agreement it's an interinstitutional agreement signed with the Ministry of Education in order to enforce what the law is abiding us. We decided to start with the primary and secondary level of education. So in the ministry, we have been deploying and organizing different activities and actions to develop this education on Social Security at different levels. We designed a cross-functional team with pedagogists and technical staff in Social Security, and authorities have designed all the educational material targeting the primary and the secondary levels. With this material is focusing on every level, but we work specifically with the subject matters that are relevant according to our curricula. We closely analyze what matters should be involved within the Social Security. It's important to mention that the content of Social Security is part of the curricula in Dominican Republic. The National Educational Committee is supporting all this in order to have an appropriate education with accurate information. And for this training before college, we have been in touch with other entities that already have an effective trajectory promoting a culture of Social Security. We have had conversations with PEPESA. We have heard about that with the previous presenter, and we have signed some joint collaboration agreements so they can support us in this educational process. And the same applies for diplomates. These are short-term courses with three approaches. One for public servants. We sign an agreement with the National Public Administration Institute, the institute from the government in charge of training public officers and public servants. So education on Social Security becomes part of the core education that every public officer should receive. And we have signed agreements with other entities that provide technical and professional trainings, especially for the business sector, with universities for a basic training on Social Security, and with other colleges. We are focusing on the young adult population, and in different schools, in different colleges, we are developing and organizing different workshops to raise awareness for that target group with our technical staff from the council. Now, for more detailed information, we are working with higher education institutions. We are organizing a master's degree on Social Security studies, because the idea is to train other type of population with more targeted and more international information about what is social protection, focusing on our legislators, because we are in the process to amend the law. So for the council is of the utmost importance to train our legislators in order to make better decisions and to have a better performance as legislators. I would like to talk about the agreement that we have signed with the MINER, because this is a very relevant project for us, because we are about to start a more formal process in the education of Social Security since the primary levels and in the primary schools in the Dominican Republic, both in private and public schools. This is going to start the next school year. We are working, we have just completed the curricula. The corresponding ministry is analyzing this, is under test for the next year. And with this test, we are going to be able to make the corresponding adjustments at different levels, because this is very important, right? The idea is to have in the near future a very robust material. And what have been the results? Well, we have trained a lot of citizens with this subject matter, and we have trained businessmen, public officers, and we are in the process to launch the educational material. Of course, this has to be tested in the next school year. This is an image of our educational material for primary level. What are the other institutions of the system doing on education on Social Security? Well, the Under Ministry of Prevention, the CPEN, as of the year 2016, they launched their School for Prevention Studies. It was a very important hallmark as an institution. The idea was to provide to all the stakeholders appropriate and timely information for prevention. And they organized diplomates, workshops, and training courses. And they have a lot of resources online and in presence regarding savings. At the beginning of the year, they launched a local academic entity for retirement and pension funds. And they take part in the financial week organized by the Central Bank in the Dominican Republic, that is organized every year to outreach all the stakeholders so they can receive training in prevention and retirement education. We also provide information about family insurance to the people that request for that. They organized events to inform about health risk for healthcare providers, informing them about specific regulations. And we also organize users workshops for motherhood, and the IDOPRIL has a specific area to coordinate educational events for prevention education. The idea is to develop an educational and information strategy to promote a culture of Social Security. And finally, the DIDA has a department for promoting and training activities that help citizens to extend their knowledge about the benefits of the system. Of course, they offer discussions, workshops, and conferences. I am showing you now the last graduation of the class for the Diploma of Social Security. It's an 80 hours course. It's not that simple. We provided all the information about the law, its origins, regimes, and other matters of interest. Of course, this is for all the institutions in the system, but also for all the institutions in the business arena. And what is the current status? We are about to start with the test of the educational material for primary and secondary students in the next school year. And we are going to launch the master's degree on social security and social protection in the month of August. We are going to open new cohorts of the diplomate, and with the amendment of the law 87-1 that has been passed, we have to continue with the enactment. We are going to have elections pretty soon. So I can see that with this, we are going to receive a lot of information to update the law and to make the corresponding adjustments in the curricula and in the material that we are designing. So in a nutshell, this is what we have implemented regarding education. And I also talk about all the developments that we're going to have in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maribel. It's always, Ms. Justo, a pleasure and an honor to hear and listen to all the innovations in the social security system of Dominican Republic. It's a 8701 innovation for 2021. I think that you just simply broke through all constraints that we had in the Dominican Republic system, and in LATAM, we analyze these three components, the functions. You've worked in innovation. You're including social security innovations and all of this in law, in the body of law. In your instance, you're enabling us, or you're communicating what you've been doing in these levels from your side. But we're pleasantly surprised with all the innovations that you've communicated and what you're going to kick off at that door. Time is of essence, and it's cruel, and it's flown by, and we've consumed a lot of time at our table, and unfortunately, we're not going to be capable of answering right now the questions of the audience. We are not going to have a Q&A session, question and answers, but we're going to give you the response at the right time, because we're very interested on listening to the voice of the citizenship. The next dialogue will start in 2 minutes, and temporarily we're going to deactivate the camera, and we're going to resume or reactivate our streaming for the second panel to start. Thank you all very much. We thank all the panel members. You've clarified so much. We are going to listen to the next experiences at a continental level. Thank you very much.
Ondas TESPA y a Seguridad Social. Trabajadores del campo. La señora Lupe vende empanadas en la esquina de mi casa. Todas las mañanas está ahí, al lado de su cesta. Siempre dice lo mismo. ¡Empanadas! ¡Empanadas! Como si cantara. Antes trabajaba como jornalera. Nos dijo un día que mi papá le preguntó, pero se vino porque allá es muy difícil y ella ya tiene su edad. Lo veo en sus manos cada vez que le compramos. Ondas TESPA y a Seguridad Social.
Todos contribuimos. En un país, todas las personas que realizan un trabajo formal o informal contribuyen con la seguridad social, que es una manera de ayudar al bien común. Las personas que ayudan en las tareas de la casa, los ancianos, los niños y aquellos que tienen alguna discapacidad aportan de muchas maneras a la seguridad social. Todos participamos para que una comunidad sea próspera. La ayuda que damos para distribuirnos las cargas son formas de crecer juntos.
Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos acompañan en esta segunda mesa de experiencias, de intercambio de
We are
experiencias.
going to hear, continuing with the international seminar, sharing best practices in culture about social security and its development.
Who's joining us here. We'll have today more experiences on social security culture, and we will be joined by David Mathias from the Social Security Board from Antigua and Barbuda, also by Vilma Campos and Mónica Anguiana from the Caja Costarricense del Seguro Social, and of course by our dearest Sergio Duran, who is director, the Chief of Service and Health and Health and Daycare for Children at the northern part of the city, Mexico City, in the Mexican Institute of Social Security. Okay, I'll switch to Spanish. Voy a cambiar a español. Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everyone who's joined this seminar. Today, we're sharing best practices from Antigua and Barbuda, Costa Rica, and the Mexican Institute on Social Security. Specifically, the entity called, the body called, the administrator of the delegation or mayorship in Mexico City, Sergio Duran, is here at the panel with us. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with today's seminar with our colleague, dearest colleague, Sir David Mathias. Thank you for joining us. Allow me to read a brief bio, a resume of the panel members before we open the floor. Mr. David Mathias is the Executive Director of the Social Security Authorities of Antigua and Barbuda. He is the post holder of the Inter-American Commission Organization and CAOSA. of the part of the Inter-American Conference, VP of the Permanent Committee of this conference on Social Security, which also is enshrined in our bylaws as an Inter-American Conference. He's a major collaborator for the conference. He has studies in economics, history, masters in history and project planning. He has been working for over 26 years in government in different positions. He's designing, implementing effective strategies for Social Security. Thank you, sir. Mr. Matthias, take the floor with your presentation, sir.
Buenos tardes y todos. Good afternoon, all. It is good to see my friends and colleagues, and I thank you for an opportunity to share some of the experiences that we here at the Antigua-Barbuda Social Security Board have embarked upon with regards to building a culture of acceptance and a culture of awareness of Social Security. It is perhaps important that we begin at the beginning when looking at Social Security to understand its history within Antigua and Barbuda. We are, in Antigua and Barbuda, the oldest Social Security system within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, or the smaller states of CARICOM. You would know us as Subregion 4, which normally constitutes the English-speaking Caribbean and North America. Our focus in terms of Social Security, building that Social Security culture and building that Social Security understanding, has been on approaching the youth. In the past, we have looked at those persons who are just about to transition from secondary school or high school, going into either the world of work or to tertiary education. That program was targeted towards understanding, sharing with the young people our benefits, how it impacted them, the history of Social Security, looking at its origins in the First World War, coming all the way forward to how it impacted with the Great Depression. We have since moved from that with the assistance of the SAFE and the CIS, in that we have developed an Educating in Social Security program, which was meant not only to impart Social Security knowledge, Social Security information beyond benefits, beyond contribution, but to actually bolster our compliance by allowing the young to bring their children, their parents, and fellow colleagues, fellow children online or on board with Social Security advancements during that period. We have taken this one step further and started looking at not only the young and persons about to leave secondary school, but persons who are just about to enter into the world of work. And those persons just about to enter the world of work will see a different Social Security in Antigua and Barbuda. Many of our current initiatives focus around the use of technology, whether it be generative AI technology, mobile apps, and an extensive use of social media platform, with a view towards not only being able for persons to access their personal contribution information, understanding what it is that their individual employers and others have been doing, but also, most importantly, to be able to move forward in building a universal Social Security system. The most important element of that exercise has been the introduction of a new Social Security app. That Social Security app is meant to interact with that school leaver as well as technophile population, that the millennials and beyond, in terms of having them integrate into Social Security and its operations. The employees of our system are the ones that are utilized extensively to actually push in terms of having persons access through portal technology and the like to come on board to learn about Social Security. In an effort not to exclude any generation, we have utilized all of the technologies that we think are available to us, whether it be social media platforms such as Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We also make extensive use of our national television stations as well as all of our radio stations in terms of spreading that knowledge of Social Security. We have in recent times also in building upon the app included within our print media, Know Your Social Security or Social Security tips, which is again meant towards understanding not only benefits, not only what is legally required for you to access those benefits, but just to build that stronger connection between us and Social Security systems regionally, as well as the people that we serve. That collaborative approach has culminated as late as 2018, when we would have incorporated the Center for Education in Social Security. They are situated in Mexico at the CIS, and the Ministry of Education in what we called Educando en Seguridad Social, which is our Educating in Social Security program. This program makes extensive use of our inspectorate or compliance officers to go into the schools, to go into the colleges, to go into the skills schools and colleges to impart Social Security knowledge. We have, in most recent times, engaged the Ministry of Education, Science, Technology, and Sports in the development of strong ties between Social Security, not only with the sporting fraternity, but also with building out a social studies curricula that does help the young and school-leaving population to understand what is happening with Social Security, the innovations of Social Security. And through most recent innovations and discussions with the Secretary General of the Inter-American Conference on Social Security, as well as the Director of the Center for Education in Social Security, we are pleased to announce that we are making strides towards the introduction of English content within the SAFE, as well as the development of strong relationships with the University of the West Indies, which we also partner with the development of our artificial intelligence program. Just to bring that basic discussion to a close and not to spend too much time this afternoon on my presentation, the last element of our outreach to the young, which is our primary focus in our rebranding, which we undertook in 2010, 2011. If we are to build a technologically driven, strategy-focused, and customer-centric institution, we recognize that it begins with us understanding what is needed by our customer base and our beneficiaries. To better inform that, we have structured much of our educational content and our staff or customer or beneficiary outreach content towards not only understanding your rights, but also seeing social protection as a fundamental right of every Antiguan and Barbudan. Towards that end, we have indeed focused much of our efforts on the youth, and in part of doing so, we are the title sponsors of Junior Science Quiz. We also are sponsors of many sporting events throughout Antigua and Barbuda, and we also partner with other civic and civil institutions such as the Lions and Rotary towards looking at men's health and women's health, being title sponsors as well towards cancer research and HIV and AIDS research. We also sit as part of that overall social engagement initiative and education campaign. We are fundamental elements of the country coordinating mechanism for the Global Fund to respond to HIV and AIDS in terms of identifying key projects that can move that initiative forward. Needless to say, we as an institution recognize that the ultimate source of education at the moment is our voices. and we utilize as many media, whether social or print or traditional media, to spread that message and to educate our people, living true to our credo that we grow to provide for you. With that, I thank you for listening this afternoon.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you for this enlightening presentation on what you're doing and focusing on what is needed and utilize all media with your own voices. That's very nice to hear and to learn about that. So next, voy a paso al español, switch to Spanish, sorry for that. Gracias, David.
Spanish now. Thank you, David Matias, for your great presentation regarding what you're doing in Antigua and Barbudas. Thank you so much for focusing and shedding some light on what you're doing and using your own voice to send the message across, using all means and channels available to communicate to others, to the citizenship, what Social Security is all about. The floor is open for Sergio Duran now at the panel, who's here in person, representing an entity or a body of decentralized bodies of the Mexico City. He's representing the Mexican Security Institute of Social Security. Let me read it if I find his bio, his achievements, Mr. Duran's achievements. Sergio Duran Sagarnaga has a degree in law and government administration. He has a master's in political law and public administration. He's studying currently an education degree. He is the head of the Department of Decentralized Operations in the Mayorship of Mexico, a part of the Mexican Institute on Social Security. He exercises budget of different types of benefits and insurances of IMSS, and he's part of the department that represents those who pay their contribution or fee voluntarily. Thank you, Sergio Duran, for being part of the Presidium and the panel. The floor is yours, sir. No, we can't hear him. Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you all once again for the kind invite. Mr. Alvaro Velarca, General Secretary of the Inter-American Conference, kindly invited me for our purpose. Vanessa Stewart, she's leading the research projects of CEAS. Thank you very much for your direct support always. And while the question that arises that needs an answer, that's part of our interest, how do we offer Social Security in Mexico? We offer Social Security through our two main institutions, which are the Mexican Security of Social Services, IMSS, and the Institute of Social Security Services for the State, called ISSSTE. See, if we speak of Social Security in Mexico, we definitely must speak about IMSS, the Social Security Institute in Mexico. It's been present in the lives of Mexicans for over 80 years. It has its legal mandate sourced from the 103rd article of the Constitution or the Charter, because in our Constitution, we need to offer, and our mandate is to offer Social Security benefits. In compliance, we offer Social Security services as public services that impact the nation for all the workers and their families. We have to increase the coverage of Social Security benefits in our population. It's our constitutional mandate with the social sense. The second article of the law of Social Security, the General Act, establishes that Social Security has the objective to guarantee the rights and access to health, medical services, the protection, and we need to provide Social Security benefits and services in general for the collective well-being and for the individuals. We've created plans to offer pension schemes. We're in compliance with law, and this services must be guaranteed by the Mexican government. Mexico's population approximately is constituted by 120 million Mexicans. In the first quarter that was measured in 2023 at the IMSS, we have the population measured. We have 64 million people in our population being analyzed, which are representative of 49 or 50% of the national population of this country. They're benefited or insured by the Mexican Institute of Social Security. IMSS is this institution that provides greatest coverage at a national scale. Without doubt, it's a tool for government that offers Social Security benefits of great impact in the world. During the first quarter of the present year, we quantified the population of pension holders. We quantified 5,573,000 people. Around 4 million people in the law of 73 under that coverage, and 61,000 that are covered by the law that dates back to 97. The law of 73 has in the body the pension schemes that will be paid by government, and the law of 97 are the savings accounts for retirement, the individual accounts. The payments of these pensions cost around 136 million pesos monthly. Just for you to analyze the numbers of what we invest in Social Security in the Mexican Institute of Social Security. And while the payment was subsidized in March of the present year, the payment reached approximately the next number, 671 million pesos, and we have to go through the processing of a lot of cases filed that are 173 over 1 million people. IMSS gives 5 types of insurances and benefits for the members or affiliated citizens and their families. You see the numbers. We have the benefits offered. The last 3 ones, we offer medical benefits, economic benefits, and social security benefits. There's 5 types of insurances and coverage. Labor-related insurance that protects the workers if they suffer an incident or accidents or suffer any disease at the workplace. If there's an accident at the workplace, IMSS will provide medical assistance and, if need be, a pension for the worker, or if the person dies, the pension is cascaded to the beneficiaries. There's another insurance for maternity leave, which covers health insurance, hospital costs correlated to specific conditions, and pediatric services. We include temporary disability and maternity leave. The third type of insurance or scheme is the disability life insurance. And if there's a permanent disability or the person that receives the benefit passes away, the benefits are portable to the beneficiaries. There's the insurance for employment, retirement, and retirement during the aging population. This insurance has been created to ensure the economic well-being of the workers in retirement stages. We include pension schemes correlated to aging. The fifth type of insurance is the insurance of daycare systems and social benefits. In that case, daycare systems provide services for the kids of the hardworking males and females that have the insurance, that have kids. When they receive the benefit since they are turned 43 days of life. And there's other insurances that cover kids till they turn 6 in preschool years. This has been all authorized by the Ministry of Education, of course. When we speak of social benefits, we have other activities and programs that foster health. We drive forward these programs and have cultural and sports events for our people. We train the workers and give them technical accreditations. We have holiday venues for them to enjoy cultural events and sports. We have developed our infrastructure and other social security benefits in IMSS for the families. I lead a department, as Vanessa said, in Mexico City in the mayorship, and I lead that entity representing IMSS, and we offer 2 out of the 3 schemes and 4 out of the 5 insurance schemes that we have. We try to be as efficient as possible, and we do everything to serve others with honor. We have the infrastructure at IMSS to provide the services that I've aforementioned. We have social security centers, and these centers, in our infrastructure, we have workshops, training programs, handcrafts. We analyze workshops to create weaving programs and health programs. We have developed programs for cultural and sports activities, theater, arts, painting, arts, dance. We have many programs to offer. We have training skills and technical accreditations like development or clothes development, beauty, cosmetology, and other benefits or programs and trainings are offered. We have other areas in our infrastructure. Sports events are held there. We want to have our people be part of sports events to prevent chronic diseases. We want that to be transmitted to our culture. It's very important for us to, cure people's diseases, but it's important to prevent them. We have built and drafted policies to consider well-being as essential. We have programs to reactivate our people in sports events at IMSS. We have workshops for arts and crafts. Craftsmanships are developed. We provide this program for the citizenship in general. We have etching, photographs, and other subjects. We have specific infrastructures developed for these training purposes. The SACART is our training and rehabilitation for workers who are going to be part of the workforce once again. We have workshops, services offered, training such as marketing. We are training people to understand sales, AutoCAD, computer repair mechanisms, electrical appliances trainings. We have options for the citizenships to receive that certification. We have another body called HASAM. That's an entity or a body of healthcare systems offered to our seniors, the retirees. This offers services that are not for geriatric purposes, but they're services that are offered for the elderly, not with a pharma-centered, but we offer services for Social Security. We have created another center that's called DIDE. We celebrated the opening of that center with the presence of Zoe Robledo Aburto, the head of IMSS. And in these infrastructures or centers, we offer the elderly different trainings or programs supporting their daily activities so they can improve their quality, their well-being, and the well-being of their families and their caregivers. We also have a network of theaters in the nation. We have 3 types of activities offered in these theaters. We have the institutional programs of IMSS. We hold events in this collective event in the mayorships that are called, they're the organs of IMSS in the whole network. We have the layout. We have culture for IMSS with programs to develop culture for the retirees. And we have IMSS commercial events or trade events. These events are the result of the trust fund for theaters. We hire or generate partnerships with private theater entities or bodies that bring the theater to our stages. We have IMSS stores or grocery stores. In our law at IMSS, we offer the economic benefits through our supermarkets, which are led to really protect the means for our people to thrive and survive, to have an increase in their levels. So IMSS has a collective agreement. There's agreements with the labor heads and the unions. So we are leading the grocery stores with IMSS to improve their buying or acquirement or procurement power. And we can improve the well-being at the household. In 54, the IMSS reached an agreement with the collectives and unions to create the network of grocery stores that can provide basic products for them to be bought at inferior prices in comparison to the prices offered by other entities, and will be administered by the Social Security Institute, or there's IMSS grocery stores, and the general population can go and procure there. We have institutional centers, which are 4 in Mexican territory. We have one called Trinidad and Malintzin, located in the state entity of Tlaxcala, Metepec, and Huastepec, and other entities participate. This is all under the policy of our law of the Social Security benefits offered by IMSS. The holiday and vacation centers are part of the IMSS, which enable the members to take holidays in these areas. Not only the right holders or the beneficiaries can have access to these places to enjoy your holidays, relatives and others can also use the benefits, and lodging is part of it. We drive forward a culture to improve tourism, consolidating culture and the touristic heritage of all the state entities that constitute this republic. We also have other funeral services or funeral home services at IMSS.
And we can offer different chapters. The funeral can be carried out in a special agency at home, and we can offer different articles like coffins, urns, and so forth. Cremation, the rent of buses for transportation. Funerals provide services 24/7 according to the legal and sanitary federal acts of the country. And we offer funeral services at a low cost. So workers of the IMSS and their right holders and general public can have a funeral service with high quality at a low cost. And we have a unit for congresses, a cultural center for workers, Dr. Ignacio Morones Prieto, located in the Century 21st building. It has 3 auditoriums and 23 auditoriums rooms, installed capacity to receive 2,300 people, and it has more than 1,800 square meters. They offer these facilities for all the public to organize national and international conventions, congresses, work groups, and expo, among other activities. And lastly, let me talk about the most sensitive issue of the IMSS, all the daycare centers that we have all over the country. The daycare centers promote the comprehensive development of children with pedagogical activities, healthy food, and we have qualified and professional staff in safe and functional facilities. The first stage of life is fundamental because this is the creation of the foundation so human beings can develop skills, abilities, and competences that will help them all their life long. Therefore, IMSS commitment with the workers and their children is to have always a high quality of health daycare centers. This is a center for health care, for protection of the children of the workers according to Articles 201, 207 of the law of the IMSS. In the daycare centers, we provide different services, cleaning, food, healthcare services, education, recreational services, always considering the higher good of children, respecting and fulfilling all the rights. We have different modalities. IMSS provides services with direct daycare facilities or another facilities administered by private sector, and we have agreements with them. We have an outsourced service for daycare service. The schedule is the daycare center is provided from Monday to Friday, except from holidays, for 9 hours in the morning and in the afternoon, according to every locality. There are some daycare centers that provide service 365 days in schedules that are larger than that. We have a 10-hour service of daycare service that is not going to be given at night by law. In the integrating scheme, we have additional facilities and expert support for rehab services that for children that have any discapacity. This is a free service for the right holder, and the resources of the insurance of daycare are a contribution by the employer according to the security law. We have a pedagogical service that promotes the comprehensive development of children by promoting the creation of healthy links, their autonomy, and the promotion of capabilities respecting individual rights. And pedagogical actions respond to the characteristics, necessities, and interests of children in the framework of official programs of the Ministry of Public Education. They promote the creation of good habits, mathematical thinking, artistic expression, languages, and they foster intellectual growth. Food. The daycare center offers a healthy, varied, and enough food according to the development and the age of the children. We always offer natural products rich in minerals, proteins, and we promote a policy for zero added sugar to prevent overweight and obesity in adult years. The modification of food for children with any health condition that is required can be implemented in our daycare centers without any problem, but with the support of the corresponding doctor. And if it's possible, we are going to do this with the food that we have authorized. It is not authorized to enter with food. We only receive infant formula in new packages, promoting health. In the daycare centers, we surveil the well-being of children. There is a timely identification of disease or physical injuries that require medical care. When we detect any symptom of disease, the daycare center requests medical service and they can return to their activities when it is appropriate. We monitor size, height, the size of the brain according to the national guidelines. Those children that have any alteration in their development are referred to their unit care center. Attend care for children with disability. In the daycare center, we offer these services, an integrating service that has an additional area to support to provide rehab therapies for children with discapacities. Supporting activities are carried out by trained and specialized staff and are supervised always by a specialist doctor in physical and rehab medicine in order to empower the development of intellectual capabilities of movement, language, and social capabilities of children. In order to support the rehab activities out of the center of attention, we provide them with training. It's important to mention that in any daycare center, we have medical staff and nurses, and we also have psychologists in the staff. The daycare center has enough staff that has to be professionally and duly trained in order to make sure that they are going to provide service with quality and professionalism according to the corresponding legislation and to the legal framework of the IMSS. They need to provide the necessary input and they have to provide cleaning conditions and safety conditions that are supervised by IMSS at least 4 times a year. But usually, we monitor these installations more frequently. The daycare centers have the necessary safety protocols to ensure the physical safety of children. We organize internal, external drills, and at a national level, we have video recording cameras to strengthen the security and safety of our children to prevent mistreatment, abuses, and accidents in the daycare centers. IMSS promotes communication among parents and children so they can continue with their activities in order to have the best development for children in their first childhood. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for having me here. And I am going to be here if you have any question. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sergio, for walking us through all the offerings that IMSS has in Mexico regarding social and economic benefits. I think it's very important to disclose and disseminate all the rights that you offer to the right holders. It's great to learn about that. Thank you so much. Now, Mónica Indiana Mora from the Costa Rica Fund of Social Security. She is online, industrial engineer with a master's degree in business administration emphasizing general administration. She has an expert studies on disasters management and project management. She has worked in the fund for 25 years regarding planning, construction, and equipment of a new location, management of new projects. Since the year 2017, she has worked with the line of attention for emergencies and risk reductions before disasters, mentor for the emergency teams, and she has participated in relevant events. For example, she was the coordinator for cooperating with different disasters. She is also coordinator of the National Social Security Fund in Costa Rica. She is member of the coordinating commission of the 911 action, and she is a great partner regarding socio-environmental risk. Monica, thank you for being with us. You have the floor. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Good afternoon to all of you. It's great to be here. I am going to share my presentation. I wanted to share with you an experience that we had. Mrs. Vilma, on that something that happened on April that endangered the continuity of the institution. The healthcare services were able to be provided to the population in a different manner. And somehow it allows us to implement different care models than the ones that we were used to provide in the institution. Everything is as a result of the publication of the framework law 10159 that standardizes all the actions, all the profile, all the functions, and the salary of different professionals in the healthcare environment all over the country, public or private. So there has been a great social movement regarding this frame law for employment. Basically, specialized doctors now are working in this institution with an extraordinary payment. There was a specific union that was trying to defend the rights of their members. They consider that this law is blocking and interfering with their profession, and they generate a movement on April 1st that resulted in not providing extra work during that month. So as a result, we didn't have a specialist doctor after 4 p.m. from Monday to Friday and until 7 a.m. next day. So for us as an institution, this had a great impact. It was very complicated to address this issue because we were not going to have gynecologists, surgeons during all month long. They organized and they sent different notifications of temporary suspension of their work. So we were measuring how on the second and third level of care, where we have hospitals, regional hospitals, and national and specialized hospitals, we were noticing the decrease of doctors and the impact. So this was going to be enacted as of 1st of April. This is the bulletin that they were filling out. So the first thing that we did as an institution in order to address this impact was to define critical service for their direct care. We prioritize what were the cares that had to be given in the country. So we identify everything that had to do with trauma, emergency services, gynec obstetric services, and intensive care, OR, and patients hospitalized in case there were complications in the period where we were not going to have specialized doctors. So here you can see that out of the 29 hospitals, 21 were not going to have a specialist some of the days in April. The same for surgery. 21 hospitals were not going to have gynecologists, or 26 hospitals were not going to have professional doctors or specialists during April. Orthopedia, the same, was part of the first mapping that we did. In this map, you can see the Northeast network of healthcare. You can see how many hospitals we had, and we had 100% impact in anesthetics. So in all this sector, we were not going to have any specialist in anesthetics some days of April. And if I don't have an anesthetic, it makes no sense to have a surgery or to have a surgeon. So the scenario that we noticed at that moment was a very high-risk scenario. It was going to have an ongoing impact. We were going to provide special salaries to those doctors that were able to work. And we designed a contingency plan, and I am going to elaborate on that. The contingency plan, in order to continue providing critical services, includes the services that I just mentioned. The main purpose was to have a coordinating structure, actions for organizations, and actions related with direct care for the patient. Being able to provide health care to patients despite the situations that we were facing. The contingency plan contained different indicators that allow us to size the magnitude of the situation in the country. For example, how many specialists were available, services that were not completed. We have a procedure where hospitals can call for emergency services. So, meaning that they have no more room for patients in the hospitals, patients in emergency and urgency rooms, patients that don't need to receive urgent care could wait. So we were using only the ordinary services. And of course, this is going to make more complicated the provision of services from 6 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. The amount of patients derivation. This is a mechanism that we are going to see in a moment. With this mechanism, we were able to provide care to all of them. We were linking the private sector with the public one. And everything was going to be paid with the contingency reserve fund. When you declare an emergency, you can make use of all these resources. Within the direct care actions, we notice how relevant was to hire third parties with the private contract. With this, we were going to have care networks, and we were able to manage some availability of doctors. I am going to elaborate on all these items. Within the key actions, we have the declaration of institutional emergency. With this, we can enact different procedures and to have access to the funding line, hiring, outsourcing services, and the implementation of an information center and patients referral. We can refer them with an expert or with a special doctor, independent from the place where the patient was located. So we were able to work in a procedure that was designed during the Holy Week, and we are standardizing this in all the public hospitals. We standardize actions of private centers that were contracted, and we unified also all the transportation, because the fund has a small area for transportation, but this is about logistics. The emergency car, if I needed some transportation, they helped me to get one, or to have an escort, or any other specific requirement that the medical center have, but they don't refer patients based on the medical condition that they have and in the timely and emergency that the time and emergency that they are suffering. This model has been implemented several times, but this one in specific give us the opportunity to have a national approach, linking the private and the public sector. The private sector has less resources than the public one, so we needed to make very efficient all these resources, not only for transportation purposes, but also for the payment. We were able to generate a line of functioning within this center. Here you can see the organizational chart. We have the leader for that specific center with a host of functions, administrative support in charge of registers, statistics, human resource control, everything was funded with this extraordinary fund. And the schedule was as of 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 a.m. of the next day. We had 5 shifts full-time. One manager in charge of patients organization, classification, urgency, prioritization, and a series of managers that were in charge of finding the specific hospital that was necessary for that specific patient at that time. This is a snapshot of April 1st. Here you can see that some of them have some bars, but here they have 3, 2, or 1. Meaning that they have one specialist in one region or no specialist in the region, as you can see here. Here we only have urgencies, orthopedics, and surgery, but we didn't have anesthetics. And the central region had more availability of service. But you can see that there was only one specialist for all the region. It was very complicated. And in the Pacific area, this is another example that was replicated in the country. We have just one anesthesiologist, one surgeon, and a peripheral hospital could have some services for complicated patients, that a service that we didn't have in the regional hospital. This is the Manuel Sanabria Hospital, had surgery, but without anesthesiologist. So things were more complicated because we didn't have a full team. It is a hospital that has less complexity, but they couldn't have all the staff or all the necessary inputs. And for all of this, we enable a database, an information system that was very useful because without it, we couldn't afford the situation. We were able to collect daily information. This is very dynamic about all the specialists that were going to be available, where they were located, in order to have a map about specific specialists for certain cases. With these information centers, we can trace back the patient since the request of the patient in a national center, a specific pathology, a specific request. Here you can have the history, the case, the needs. And with all this information, we were able to assess the situation, the availability of services, and to refer them to different centers where they have the capabilities to provide the specific care. We couldn't work with all of them. Some of them were only for the center hospitals, but we enable doctors' consultations with the doctors that were available at that time. But the most important part of this model for transportation and referral is that no matter where the case emerged, we could send them to different hospitals. The network was non-existent, and we couldn't have only one hospital network of all the country. And you can see how patients were transferred from one part to the country to another in order to receive timely and professional care according to their emergency and to their needs. We also evaluated different elements like distance, if that patient could be transferred to another medical center or not. And in the private center, we received the support of the Health Costa Rican Chamber. That was a private center for referrals. So when the fund requested to this center or to this chamber the activation of a private center, in this case, there were 5 private centers for a specific care. The chamber was in charge of saying that patient is going to be sent to the private center number 1, number 2, or whatever, no matter where the center was located, if it was in San Jose or in another region. Patients were transferred in an emergency car without any problem. And thanks to this, we were able to provide medical care in a timely manner. All the managers reached agreements to accomplish this. This is a snapshot of all the system. It was very dynamic, so we needed to have everything available to us. We had diagrams, we had cuts at different times to be able to identify if a specialist already arrived or not. And we were able to have a control of all the medical staff that was available, independent from our network. And this is the most important information that I would like to share with you, how we were able to break this network and to approach other entities in order to receive care. The movement started on April 1st, and we had a total of 677 cases that were managed in those schedules. 53 of them required transportation to private centers.
367 cases were referred to another healthcare center called K. 247 cases could not be referred, but they were given the services with other bodies or entities or physicians who are expert in their field that are located in the region. You see the plot, this graph at the beginning of it. At the beginning, you see the incremental. There's just a few cases, but you see the peak during the weekends. We work 24 hours, and there is an incremental there in the reading and the petition of reference patients. And since you see 23, 69, 102, 194, and then there is a decline in the graph going down, plummeting to the last moment in that. So we reached agreements between institutions. Out of the main services that are being offered and referenced, you see obstetrics, surgery, radiology, orthopedics, emergency wards, medicine, neurosurgeries, and then we see the subtypes of types, and we narrow down all the visions and the types of services which are critical services, and where we focus, you see the graph where our efforts are all aligned. Here, I point out there are 53 patients referred to the different networks in the medical services. There are private. And here, out of the 5, we only use 3. And then there's one that's the National Institute of Insurance that was referenced with a traumatism. Out of the results, the outputs led us to see the management of the network of services. There's the patients, and we go through the assessment. We all work collectively along the same lines. We drafted an assessment of pathologies. We have priority matrices to classify the patients that were referenced due to the complexities. We coordinated the efforts with the network or without it, and we transferred people within institutions. We have the databases, and we coordinate ourselves with our institutions in the healthcare services. As the analog case of EAMS, we have the hospital management and the entities that correlate and bridge all the reference patients to the network, which is the total system. You see the compilation of data systematically in the nation, and we keep records and tracks and quantify. And we map out everything in a region. To give you an example, you see the network. We see patients that were taken or reference to Punta Arena. There's patients here in the southern region of the country that led us to the Pacific zone. And there's patients that were taken from the National Institute, the hospital that's called Peralta, to other hospitals in the peripheral regions in that region. So you see how we didn't want to saturate our map here, but you see how we reference patients from one place to another, irrespective of the region and from where they're at. So I believe that that's been one of the most important systematic implementations that we've had. Just to say it in a snap, in a blink, you see this map, and this helped us sustain systematically the support during an emergency, to reference the user, the patient, to a healthcare service, to an institute, to give feedback and continuity to the process. We define it all from the central region and to the other network. We provide universal coverage of the services, which is our institutional mandate. It's our mission. We need to provide services depending on the case and the urgent matter. We prioritize and think about the cost, irrespective of the cost. The reference to the institution. So the patients, as I've said, are referenced to the institution, and the floor is open for you all. And I thank you, and I'm here ready for any question or any formulation you'd like to prompt. Thank you. Thank you, Monica, very, very much. It's been very interesting for us to listen to all the whole layout, how you're organized. You're even tackling social and environmental risks amidst the situation. You've mentioned the institution's emergency scenarios, and we're analyzing how to manage and how to assess the process of implementing Social Security to solve a crisis scenario, to solve an emergency. This is correlated to the culture that's embedded, that's in the DNA of Social Security. We have those rights. We need to exercise the rights. Thank you, Monica, very much. We thank you all very much. And we're right on time to ask questions, to receive answers. The Q&A starts right now. I've received one question sent. We don't have the reply yet, but the question has been sent by a person who's been following the streaming through the network. It's for our Mexican counterpart. The question is, which are the requirements to obtain the benefits? I mean to say, if I need a specific fee payment, do I need to pay fees or have a resident status or nationality acquired? So I believe that you're probably mentioning the income. I mean, having access to daycare systems, I imagine that. Good afternoon, everyone. You only need to meet 3 requirements to use the daycare network of the Mexican Institute of Social Security. You have to be a member, an affiliated member, male, female, worker, regulated subject, beneficiary from the services offered by IMSS. The baby or the child must have been born. I mean, turned 40 days old until he turns 6 years, so he can have access to the daycare systems or preschool years. And the other requirement, the child has to pass an examination of enrollment. That's a medical assessment only. Those are the only requirements. Thank you very much, Sergio. And if there's no further questions from the general public, and then if there's no questions by of those who have joined this session in person or remotely, if there's no further questions, ladies and gentlemen, as of now via Zoom, I'll communicate that we're thankful for having the presence of all the panel members. Thanks, David. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Sergio, for having been part of this event in person. Remember that we're kicking off a workshop at 4 p.m., 1600 hours, so you're going to have a lunch break. I know we're all hungry, but thank you so much for being here. And before Sergio Duran leaves, I'd like to give him the package of material resources, the handbooks, the documents that have been created and that we celebrate this afternoon. This is a certification of your participation, sir, at this panel. Thank you for being part. Honored. Your book set, sir. Thank you all so much for having been here. You know, it's been great.